I'm back. Ooh, baby. So hey, y'all, come on in. Let's. Did they have drones over in California today? Epstein accountant questioned by the House Oversight Committee. Let's start right there. Is that all right? The House Oversight Committee. Dang, I should. And if time allows, I'm gonna try to get into something. Let's go.
Describe Mr. Khan. He was much more than an accountant to Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, he managed, we're using this term accountant to describe Mr. Khan. He was much more than an accountant to Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, he managed the books and moved the money. He oversaw renovations of Epstein's properties. He oversaw payments to what we now know are victims and survivors, what he termed gifts. He was involved in sham marriages, in my view, visa application, fraud, a whole list of activities that normal accountants don't do, as far as I'm aware, but he did for his properties. He oversaw payments to what we now know are victims and survivors, what he termed gifts. He was involved in sham marriages, in my view, visa application, fraud, a whole list of activities that normal accountants don't do, as far as I'm aware, but he did for more than a decade on Jeffrey Epstein's behalf.
Part of the reason that you were interested in talking to him is because, as you said, he really helped build the scaffolding, the financial scaffolding around which Jeffrey Epstein was able to carry out his crimes. Did you get a window today into how that infrastructure was built and what it was built for?
Mr. Khan describes that infrastructure as kind of par for the course for a wealthy individual like Mr. Epstein. I think you can see from lawsuits that have taken place around the world, the reality is this infrastructure was designed to conceal payments that were made to survivors, to conceal who was on which payroll, to conceal who was getting which free apartments. So I think we got some of that insight after pressing him. There's no question the complexity of it was designed to conceal a lot of what was taking place.
Yeah, and that's the rub for me in many respects is this was set up to protect a lot of people who financed the operations, whatever they may have been at the time for Jeffrey Epstein, whether it was a real estate deal or if it was some other type of transaction. And at this table, from the very beginning of this, we settled on 2 points, and I think they still remain true. One is making sure the victims' voices are realized and heard in this matter. And 2, follow the money.
Yeah.
Because none of this happens the way it ultimately plays out unless there are people writing checks to Jeffrey Epstein. Was there any conversation about where that money came from, how that money was then used? I mean, yeah, I get the day-to-day operation, and this is, par for the course crap. But the reality of it is this was an enterprise that was global. And that money was not just at the place where, he slept at night. Right. It was reaching a lot of people who were financing that. Yeah. Is there any effort in these hearings, which I think will continue, to sort of pull back that veil to see more where the money came from and who those people are?
He was asked that question and did share some names. He listed 5 individuals who, in his description, paid fees to Jeffrey Epstein. Some of them have been named publicly: Wexner, Leon Black, Rothschilds, and a couple of others. I think another issue that's important here, why do we want to follow the money? We want to understand who knew and when did they know that Epstein was committing these crimes. And Khan is another on the long list who claims to have been ignorant of what was really taking place, willfully ignorant over the course of
What did you
decades.
think these fees were for?
Thank you. I was just, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's right. And what did he think the payments to Epstein's assistants were for? And what did he think the sham marriages were about and the visa fraud that took place? He also claimed he had no personal relationship with Epstein. Here's the thing, though. Epstein's will leaves Mr. Khan $25 million.
Oh,
He said they
wow.
weren't friends, but now
Look
I don't.
at-
I don't know anybody
that's
that's leaving me 20. My husband at this point is not leaving me $25 million in
Yeah.
the will. Like, what?
So it doesn't. It just flat out doesn't add up. It
Oh,
is
wow.
not credible. And here's the thing that is outraging to me. The FBI never interviewed on $25 million. He said they weren't friends, but the visa fraud that took place. He also claimed he had no personal relationship with Epstein. Here's the thing, though. Epstein's will leaves Mr. Khan $25 million. He said they weren't friends, but now I don't.
Baby, I don't know anybody
that's
that's
right.
leaving me 20. My husband at this point is not leaving me $25 million
was more than
in the
something.
will. Like, what?
So it doesn't. It just flat out doesn't add up. It is not credible. And here's the thing that is outraging to me. The FBI never interviewed Mr. Khan.
Why
The
do you
FBI
think
never
that is?
interviewed Mr. Indicted, the lawyer. The FBI never interviewed Les Wexner, who we know a lot of the money came from. I don't have a good answer for that. You know, there's been reporting that they had limited capacity. They were focused on trying to get more of the victims to come forward or corroborate stories, but they never made a real effort to follow the money and to
Wow.
find out which other individuals knew about and helped facilitate these crimes, including Mr.
So I
Khan.
wonder what
Can
did
I
they...
just say that I have a lot of thoughts after hearing from you today, but it does strike me that someone listening to this will say, this all sounds very sinister, maybe the conspiracy theorists were right, but why does this matter? What would you tell someone? Why does this matter? Why is what you all are doing important?
You know, when I listen to the survivors and victims, and when they explain why they are continuing to push so hard, they talk about they're doing this for all of the victims of sexual abuse and sexual assault out there across the country. They recognize that there is an epidemic in this country where too many people are getting away with this crime too often. And too often, those who are wealthy and powerful are most likely to get away with it. So I think that's why this is important. Everything else around the edges, we need to know. Why is President Trump lying to the American people about it? How did the money flow? But at the end of the day, we have an opportunity to send a signal in this country that the law applies to everyone. We're not going to tolerate anybody, any children being abused in the way that these survivors of Epstein were.
It's so important. Can I just note, he wouldn't leave me the $25 million because I'd spend it all.
Well,
You know.
you would. You know, Congressman, I really appreciate your points there. I think, though, where does this go next, in your view? How long do you think this goes out? We had James Comer on
A
the
lot of money
investigation
was going
timeline
on in
speaking
the
to that today.
Epstein
Let's take a quick
situation.
listen.
Elite, when I say elite,
Wins if he finish it by the end of this Congress.
Well, that's our goal, and I certainly hope so. I hope it's before the end of the Congress, but as we all see, anytime more documents are released or more testimonies given, it seems like more cans of worms are open.
We have less than 30 seconds left. Yes, there are a lot of cans left to be opened with worms in them because they have released all the
Worms in 'em.
documents.
That's right. Half of the files are still
Parasites.
unreleased. Illegal redactions continue. Our investigation will never be complete until all those files are revealed and we can follow every lead that comes from them.
all righty then. Ooh, that's a lot of money.
68-year-old Steve Witkoff is a real estate developer in real life who would not have been chosen by any president of the United States to do anything, anywhere, until Donald Trump decided to send him into negotiations, not just in the Middle East, but also in Moscow with Vladimir Putin. Steve Witkoff obviously knew nothing about the Middle East or Vladimir Putin when Donald Trump chose him. And now that he's met Vladimir Putin, he still knows nothing about Vladimir Putin, as he demonstrated so embarrassingly today when Carl Quintanilla at CNBC asked him why Donald Trump decided to allow Vladimir Putin to take full advantage of the explosive increase in the price of oil and profit off of that new price, a new price created by Donald Trump's war.
Do we think that the Russians have shared intelligence about the location of U.S. military assets? And if they have, why would we be giving waivers on Russian oil sanctions?
Well, I'm not an intel officer, so I can't tell you. I can tell you that yesterday on the call with the president, the Russians said that they have not been sharing. That's what they said. So, you know, we can take them at their word, but they did say that.
We can take them at their word. He said that.
Just all willy
Donald Trump's
nilly.
clown of the day, Steve Witkoff, said, we can take Vladimir Putin's word for it that Russia has not been helping Iran target attacks on American military personnel. That is the single worst thing Vladimir Putin could possibly be doing to the United States in this war. And Vladimir Putin knows it. And Vladimir Putin also knows that Donald Trump has always behaved like Vladimir Putin's trained puppy around the Russian dictator. Vladimir Putin knows that he has lied to Donald Trump to his face, and Donald Trump has then gone out to a microphone to tell the world, I believe Vladimir Putin. After credible reporting by MS Now, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, that Vladimir Putin was helping Iran target the American military, which led to the deaths of 7 American soldiers and injuring 140 American soldiers. All Vladimir Putin had to do was tell Donald Trump on the phone yesterday that he didn't do it. Donald Trump might not actually be so stupid as to actually believe Vladimir Putin, but it doesn't matter because Donald Trump is deeply perverse enough to publicly claim to believe Vladimir Putin. And so is Steve Witkoff.
Oh. Hold on, let me go here.
Jail investigates a suspicious inmate death. They look at 1, if the inmate took his life, or 2, the possibility that somebody killed him. If an inmate's alone until they're found hanging, that means suicide. No one else was there to do it. The jail records video, though, in the area facing Epstein's cell, in the cell area, they had 2 jail cameras, both failed to record, so there was only 1 working camera near the cell. That drew headlines at the time. Government defenders, though, cited the remaining camera footage to conclude that they would say no one got near the cell anyway that night. A top Trump FBI official who rose by questioning the Epstein story even echoed that view on Trump's behalf last year.
You're going to see there's no one there but him. There is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
Clear as day? A video showing that could resolve any questions, but the Trump official was wrong. Back with our Epstein death special report. We've been tracking all of the errors in the Trump DOJ's original handling of the case. And then the following administration probed those failures, but ultimately issued the same finding of suicide in a watchdog report from the Garland DOJ in 2023. That 100-page report reviewed the available video cameras footage to conclude the last time anyone came near Epstein's cell was a corrections officer at 10:41 p.m. That's the government conclusion from a detailed probe and report across 2 administrations. That's where the U.S. government would have its stay. But this new law famously forced out the secret internal documents from the same probe, showing other views within the FBI about the last person near Epstein's cell, hidden from the public until now. DOJ said the officer was the last time anyone entered the area. But the Epstein files have revealed a secret FBI log of the same video, which spotted a flash of orange going up the stairs. Inmates wear orange, not officers.
Right.
The FBI stating a, quote, flash of orange looks to be going up the stairs. Could possibly be an inmate scored it up to Epstein's tier. Now, the FBI's own video review detected that prison orange uniform of a possible inmate. That's big. This review had the evidence. Orange that could be an inmate. But we are now learning it was cut, hidden, or accidentally left out of the DOJ report. The new files reveal this never-before-seen set of details about Epstein's area on the
we've
night of his
seen it.
death. And we can show you the locked tier around Epstein's cell, 10:39 p.m. that night. A blurry orange figure appears. The original FBI log calls it that flash of orange could possibly be an inmate. And note that careful description, because then the DOJ review of the same footage changes it to write, quote, inmates are currently on lockdown. It's possible someone is carrying inmate linen up the stairs. Now that's a huge difference. It replaces observation, orange, with conjecture. Inmates are on lockdown, so they shouldn't be around. But the rule that inmates are supposed to be on lockdown doesn't resolve whether one wasn't, just like Epstein was supposed to get those 30-minute checks, but didn't, that I told you about. Now, the DOJ's change prevents questions about that orange flash and if the jail made another mistake. And the public report by the DOJ hides this dispute over the orange flash. It states that an officer appears to walk up the stairway. CBS's Daniel Rudnick first documented this in a report. Who entered Epstein's jail tier the night of his death? Newly released video logs appear to contradict official accounts. And independent experts telling CBS the video is more consistent with someone wearing an orange prison uniform than a corrections officer. The fact is the DOJ's own watchdog report minimized the FBI evidence. That is just a fact. Now, people can debate why. Was that a good faith mistake or a malicious cover-up?
We've seen this.
Even videos suggesting an inmate on the loose does not resolve questions around Epstein's death, but it would be another rule violation, and it would add to the evidence suggesting you need a deeper investigation of potential foul play. Now, that was the only camera shown here on this map. The DOJ report notes recording failures do predate this Epstein probe. There was a history there. And the only working camera that covers a common area outside the entrance to Epstein's general area is here.
It's your brother, Dr. Faraj Hassan here. And around us right now are food packages being prepared to be sent to Gaza. So in these packages, which are being sent to Gaza, are basic necessities such as rice, oil, beans, and so much more. For $50, you can help a family in Gaza with basic necessities so that they can be nourished, inshallah. We need your support every single day. Dig deep, give from your heart, give for the sake of Allah. This Ramadan, donate now. The link is in my bio. Assalamu alaikum.
Have you heard that vaginal estrogen is only for vaginal dryness? That it's local only and can't help the rest of your body? That's a myth. The truth? The vaginal route is one of the most powerful ways to deliver hormones systemically or into the bloodstream when it's done right. That's why I built the
Please hit the
first
like button.
whole-body, all-in-one hormone therapy designed specifically for women.
There isn't video from that better camera that pointed down Epstein's hallway.
Never understood why they had
back
orange.
in our timeline, moments after Epstein was found dead, the new files for the first time allow us to see the area footage at the moment of that discovery. A figure moving from the desk in the upper left corner towards Epstein's tier and then returning quickly. We see increasing activity. The video adds to the picture of how jail staff responded. Doesn't look like it was an expected event, some giant conspiracy, at least for the officers on the scene. You can see it gets chaotic. They're moving around outside Epstein's tier. But the FBI then didn't arrive for 7 hours. And that's a problem, because by then guards had removed Epstein's body. The cell was in disarray. The crime scene tainted under Trump DOJ authority. And the feds didn't fingerprint or DNA test materials in the cell, which is basic forensics to check if others were in the cell or touched items. The jail had control of the scene, but mismanaged the evidence. How bad was it? Well, officers found Epstein with a noose around his neck. But by the time they were done tainting the crime scene, the feds were never even able to establish which noose killed Epstein. There were several nooses fashioned from the clothing. Investigators said they did conclude one handmade noose you see here was not the one used. That's odd. The original account says a guard literally ripped the cloth away when they found Epstein hanging, and then CPR.
Hanging from
So
what? The
files
floor?
revealed the underlying evidence from this probe, and the government expected that stuff to stay secret. They never expected that we'd be on the news telling you about it. Like one guard recounting that he didn't recall taking the noose off. I really don't. We can also tell you that after the death, 2 officers were put
Hey, Miss
on
Tom.
leave. Within a week, the medical examiner did state the cause of death was suicide by hanging, mentioning no evidence of defensive wounds that might be part of an attack. The examiner also reviewed footage and thought it was just too blurry to draw conclusions. The new files show they also delayed that ruling on suicide for more review because of Epstein's status. A forensic pathologist hired by Epstein's brother, Dr. Baden, also looked over the autopsy and had a different conclusion, determining injuries on Epstein's neck were closer to, quote, strangulation than suicide. Now, Baden once served as chief medical examiner in New York. Months later, as we go to the timeline, the DOJ indicted the guards on duty that night for lying about the inmate checks that never happened. That's a big deal. It added pressure, though, for those guards to cooperate in the probe, and the DOJ later dropped those same charges. We are learning the FBI heard from an inmate who said that officers were heard discussing covering up Epstein's death in some manner. That was reported just this week by the Miami Herald's Julie K. Brown. There was heat on the Trump DOJ over what you can now see was a debacle that looked even worse over time.
Is
And in the
with
middle of
his
the probe,
jacket?
Trump Attorney General Barr made an unusual announcement.
You talking about
He said he watched
his?
the jail footage. He ruled out anyone entering the cell or foul play. This was days after the guards were first indicted. Barr giving his case, but there were so many failures he didn't deny them.
I don't know what's
Including,
wrong
of
with
course, the video recording. He just said the jail had a, quote, perfect storm of screw-ups. Years later, the DOJ report documents those failures, but avoided any mention of the crucial conflicting evidence I just showed you tonight. The flash of orange, whether a person or even an inmate was on the loose near Epstein's cell area. Now, it can be reasonable to make an investigative finding that it's unlikely anyone still entered Epstein's locked cell that night. Or you could state that the total evidence just doesn't suggest it. But Trump officials who oversaw these problems in 2019 and the Biden-Garland DOJ later issuing the report, okay, they went farther. They basically stretched to try to tamp down the growing public concerns. We've heard about a cover-up being sometimes worse than the original incident. Well, ironically, that kind of strained overreach can feed questions about government secrecy, cover-ups, or even foul play. The CBS investigation noted the jail camera angle means it's just not possible to rule out if someone could have climbed the stairs and entered that tier. And this new law has forced out all these documents. It's made the DOJ finally show its work, and that's driving these fresh questions. Autopsy and 2 administrations did state Epstein took his own life. Suicide. But other insiders disagreed. Several saying they don't think Epstein took his life, including his brother, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the pathologist I mentioned. And some of those claims can be suspect as his defenders or even conspirators, but that's their view. And a former Trump attorney who Epstein hired in August, the same month as everything I just showed you, said, I don't think he committed suicide. He was very engaged in fighting the case. He had basically just hired me to kill himself 9 days later. Wouldn't make sense. So let me take this all together tonight. We live in a time of agendas and conjecture and rush narratives. The truth is usually slower and more complex. Epstein's life was a criminal conspiracy, and his death became a mystery. First plagued by the Trump DOJ failures, then heightened by government secrecy across 2 administrations. This new transparency and evidence undercuts some of those past claims. It clearly shows the need for a fuller, investigative, independent accounting from Epstein's crimes to his time in custody. And as of this hour, it does not yet provide definitive proof for how his life ended.
Okay. Okay, let's get to Candace. Let's get to Candace. Let's get Candace. Oh. Excuse me. Oh, let me hit this California drones. Let me get them California drones. They flying over. Let's hear this.
The FBI warning California law enforcement about a potential Iranian drone attack on the West Coast. ABC News reviewed an alert sent to state agencies. It says Iran aspired to launch drones from a vessel off the U.S. coast targeting unspecified locations in California. The warning came just as the Trump administration launched its assault against Iran. Governor Newsom says there are no known threats at this time.
It's unclear exactly what parts of California are in the alleged threat, but here in San Diego, it's home to the Marines, the Navy, and Navy SEALs, which is why the FBI is asking law enforcement to remain vigilant.
Federal investigators say there is no specific or credible threat right now, but the warning shows just how serious the possibility of retaliation here in California could be as tensions continue to escalate in the Middle East. The FBI warned that Iran could attempt a surprise drone attack from a vessel in the Pacific coast. Camp Pendleton infantry Marines are learning to fly and crash tactical drones. According to our contributors at KPBS, the drones are capable of carrying explosive projectiles to its targets. They are one-way flights where the projectiles and drone explode just before impact.
It's hard to start off. You have to be very gentle. The controls are, very finicky, and there's no assistance.
The Marine Corps says their decision to introduce the drones came after seeing the success of aircraft in the war in Ukraine. With San Diego being home to military bases, there's concerns of threats here.
Very, very cost-effective way for Marines to use a system that's incredibly lethal, to have effects that typically, at least within the United States, we saw in technology that was much more advanced or much more expensive.
There are no specified locations on the potential drone strike or the timing of when this alleged attack would take place. Federal officials say this alert is precautionary, but is meant to keep law enforcement prepared. Governor Gavin Newsom posted to social media that he is in constant coordination with security and intelligence officials and add they remain prepared for any emergency. We have reached out to our local agencies. We are waiting to hear back. Meanwhile, several others have declined to comment. Karina Vargas, ABC 10 News.
Restaurants.
Too close for comfort. Too close for comfort. Oh, Lord. Jesus.
The local cops in Southern California.
There, Governor Gavin Newsom saying they're in constant communication with some of those local partners about this potential Iranian-linked plot using drones there against the West Coast. This is a post on social media from the governor talking about how they continue to be aware, saying there are no awareness of any credible imminent threats at this time, but they must remain prepared for any emergency in our state. Let's continue on here on Live Now from Fox and bring into the conversation former police sergeant Ashton Pack. You also worked on the task force with the FBI involving some of those joint terrorism operations. Obviously no credible threat at this moment, but what are you looking at and how serious might the government be taking this?
Thanks for having me back, Andy. Anytime the FBI issues an alert like this to law enforcement, I would take it very serious, and I think it's somewhat credible. Obviously, they're not in the business of putting out, information that tends to raise awareness to some kind of a level that isn't warranted. So I find it an interesting, an interesting alert, an interesting report. I believe it's predated from the operations that began in Iran. The drone threat, in my opinion, of course, I'm 4.5 years retired and removed from the counterterrorism apparatus that this country stood up in the aftermath of 9/11. It wasn't really the operational game plan of what the government of Iran was kind of involved in, but, things emerge, and, we always talk about emerging threats and trends, and this might be one that we have to take serious.
And you mentioned the timeline of this because this memo went out in early February, and Operation Epic Fury didn't begin until late February the 28th. And they said in the event that the U.S. conducted strikes in Iran, in which that exactly happened. And does this make the timeline interesting for you? They were aware that Iran might be out there. What do you make of the timeline?
Well, I don't read into the timeline too much. At the end of the day, the intelligence community, they are in the business of gathering information, analyzing it, and then pushing that intelligence up to the decision makers within the federal government and the military. When you get actionable, real-time tactical intelligence, you try to get it to the partners as fast as possible. Of course, when you have to now divulge information to state and local law enforcement, you have classification issues. This is why guys like me who are, local investigators, local law enforcement, had the security clearances to go in and review.
I'm sorry, y'all. Can y'all hit the like button, please?
You see what the classified information might have been. But, the timing is what it is. I mean, when the intelligence community gets information, they have their duty to get that analyzed and shared as quickly as possible, or to vet it, and if it's nothing, then put it to bed, so to speak. So I don't know that the timing here is a major issue, but again, if there's an actual threat to the state, obviously local law enforcement officers need to be given some kind of a heads up so that they can basically adjust their needs as they are out on patrol and out conducting their investigations.
And you mentioned that obviously this coming in from the FBI, but now Governor Gavin Newsom saying they have kind of a group in California, the LA sheriff's also posting this on social media. What role does the local law enforcement play in trying to mitigate some of these threats? Because you talk about a drone, and I don't know how much the LA sheriff can handle a drone if it came their way. That would be the U.S. military involved. What's the local response? What's your role?
The local role is critical. The federal government, their middle name is literally bureaucracy, and they're slow. They don't move as fast and as nimble as local law enforcement does. And so the whole model of the Joint Terrorism Task Force was stood up in the 80s in New York City to combat the emerging threat that terrorism coming out of Iran in the 1980s presented to not only New York City, but the country. So having local cops who can get local warrants literally over the phone with a judge and a DA on the line, that's mission critical. Local cops, they have a far less, they're not as burdened by their policies. FBI DIOG operates, it dictates everything that FBI agents can do. It's very, very cumbersome. And we, of course, need checks and balances on the feds, but local cops can move a little bit quicker, and they can work with those frontline FBI agents and frontline federal law enforcement entities to kind of help mitigate these situations in real time.
And there's a trio of facets talking about target, method, and kind of timeline of it. In terms of target, what areas should be on high alert potentially? Is it highly dense populated areas? Is it infrastructure? Is it something else?
Sure. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the drone can target multiple things. And I think the number one thing we have to be worried about is obviously military installations. Southern California has lots of military installations, lots of critical infrastructure, including nuclear facilities. I think federal law enforcement and intelligence community locations. You have myriad locations in Southern California that would offer a prime target to bad guys and terrorists. So, the local cops in Southern California, those guys and gals are on high alert today. I'm sure they have.
Thank you,
they have a lot of resources. That's the one thing about Southern California. Obviously, I'm out of the Southern Nevada area, but man, Southern California has tons of police officers, tons of law enforcement, federal, state, local guys. They have lots of private sector relationships that they have stood up over the years. So it depends on what what's the devil in the details on this. We don't know all the classified stuff because we have to maintain sources and methods. But But at the end of the day, they probably, all those executives, law enforcement executives, Governor Newsom, probably all sitting in a skiff coming up with a plan to mitigate this threat.
Yeah, and obviously no credible threat, but they didn't issue this for nothing and no reason at all. What is the FBI, what is the Joint Terrorism Task Force kind of looking at? Are they looking abroad? Are they looking domestically? Are they looking online? Where are you focusing?
Well, again, I don't want to reveal sources and methods, but I'm telling you this, they have a multi-pronged approach to threats like this. You have human intelligence operations, you have engagement operations, you have a massive Iranian diaspora in the Southern California area, you have sheriffs and local law enforcement, LAPD, LASO. They all have engagement teams that can go into the mosques, they can sit down with the stakeholders, community leaders, and kind of look for information. They're looking for suspicious activity reports. They're pouring through probably some old cases, some old leads. They probably have placed anyone who's a case subject there is, under heightened awareness for them. There's a ton of things that they could do, that they are doing, I'm sure. And ultimately, I think what mitigates this is human intelligence operations, is reaching out to sources, reaching out to the informants, reaching out to the people in the community who see something that doesn't make sense, find out, what did that look like, any weird financial transactions. All these operations cost money. Everything has to, money has to exchange somehow. There's a ton of, tripwires in place to capture things like that. But again, it's a needle in the haystack. I always say, good guys got to be right 100% of the time. Bad guys only have to get it right once. So this is where the community has to really have their head on a swivel. Everyday Joe citizen, Jane citizen, keeping their eyes and ears open for weird, suspicious activity, and then to report that immediately to law enforcement.
And we saw what happened in Austin, Texas, the tragedy, that shooting with a nexus of terrorism in New York City, and ISIS potentially related bomb plot by two individuals there. Is there anything the FBI, local enforcement are doing preemptively to try to get to any sleeper cells, anybody that has been radicalized before they can do something, especially in this environment right now?
A mother stretches one plate across all 5 of her children. A father skips meals so his children
can eat.
Yeah, so great question. I mean, without going again into sources and methods, that's intelligence operations. That's intelligence-led policing. At the end of the day, you want to stay left of bang. We would much rather prevent crime and terrorism from happening. We have a very, very solid ability to put the pieces back together, but that's after lives have been lost and tragedy has occurred. We want to avoid that. So in my line of work, when I was in law enforcement and working at the task force, and now even today in private investigations and security consulting, it's human intelligence. It's information coming from people. It's also probably looking for some financial stuff, and we're utilizing a lot of technology today. I can tell you that the AI that the government has access to is probably far outpacing the stuff that I'm using every day in my line of work and what we're using every day just to rewrite, chapters that we write on our reports that we're doing. So there's a lot of technology on our side. It's just making sure that all the pistons are firing and all the cylinders are firing in sync. That's what we really need right now.
And we're focusing a lot on this memo there in Southern California saying California might be a potential target for an Iranian-linked kind of drone attack. In terms of the FBI, I imagine they are in communication almost constantly with different cities, different states around the country. How likely is the FBI send it to other local members there in different parts of this country?
It's already done. It was done long before we ever even heard about it.
Okay. My last question before I let you go, because this might set people and make people uneasy, especially on the California coast. If you're kind of seeing this report, what's the view of Americans? What should they be feeling right now, knowing this potentially threat is out there? Should they be concerned?
Well, the military might be at war. It's generally Americans are at the mall. We can't live like that anymore. This is not 2003 anymore.
Wow.
My advice to citizens is always kind of universal. You ought to have some kind of a modicum of situational awareness. If you know something that's happening in your community, if you know somebody in your family who's being radicalized or has been infected with this ideology, it's very important that you report that or you get them the help that they need. There was, for example, this Austin shooter. We're going to have to wait to find out what the after-action report shows, but he's an immigrant from Senegal, not exactly a hotbed of Shia terrorism. Was this mental illness? Was he being handled? Was he being directed? Or was he just, kind of going down the paranoid schizophrenic, bipolar rabbit hole? and he just got himself infected with this, and he's just being radicalized off of his phone and just reading things, kind of the propaganda that comes out of, that part of the world. So if you see something, we always say, see something, say something. I don't know what we're looking for here as far as drone technology is concerned. Are we looking for the actual Iranian Shahed drone? Is there an actual carrier? I find it very hard for the Iranians to do that without the intelligence community of this Western countries in the United States and the Five Eyes knowing that was occurring. Are we dealing with smaller drones? Are we misidentifying this? Is this something that's more, commercial? Go buy it down at the Best Buy and put something on it to make it weaponized. So there's a lot of questions here. Sometimes these alerts and these bulletins create more questions than they answer. So for the citizens, just keep your head on a swivel. Understand what the threat is. Keep up with the news, and I don't say live in fear, but a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of a situational awareness as you go through life, and it's already complicated enough. I'm not trying to overcomplicate it, but if you see something weird, just let the cops know, let the local authorities know. If you have a family member that's suffering from mental illness and they're talking about jihad or any of these issues, get them some kind of help, even if it's just mental health assistance, or trying to force them into some kind of a treatment program. So that's really the best advice that I can give right now.
That is good advice for people on the U.S. Coast. Obviously, you don't want to live in fear, but being aware of your surroundings, being aware of the people kind of in your kind of circle is very important too. Ashton Pack, thank you so much. I appreciate your.
Okay, let's go. We're 41 minutes in. I need for y'all to hit the like button. I was trying to see if I would, if I had to remind y'all to hit the like button, and I'm very kind of, disappointed that I have to remind you to hit the like button. My. Can y'all please double tap the face of your phone device? Hit the three dots at the top right corner and hit those like buttons. Oh, I'm sorry, those three dots, and it'll take you to the like button.
Speculation can have such a powerful effect even before the facts are confirmed. They create a moment where millions of people begin asking big questions at the same time. What should American foreign policy look like moving forward? How much influence should the United States have in Middle Eastern conflicts? Should Washington attempt to stabilize the region, or should it reduce its involvement? These questions do not have simple answers.
Trying to find
They
BB
involve complex
Netanyahu.
calculations about security, economics, diplomacy, and long-term strategy. But moments like the one unfolding tonight tend to push those questions into the spotlight.
Yeah, they know better, though.
When political uncertainty touches a key leader in the Middle East, the ripple effects are felt far beyond one country's borders. And that is exactly why analysts, journalists, and politicians such as Russia and China monitor these situations carefully. The world will be watching closely for new information and official clarification. But tonight's conversation is about more than one rumor or one leader. It is about how interconnected global politics has become.
Where is BB
It is about how
Netanyahu?
quickly information moves across borders. And it is about how events in
Where
one
are
region
you,
can
little man?
influence debates thousands of miles away. Whether the speculation proves true or false, the reaction itself demonstrates something powerful. People everywhere understand that leadership decisions in the Middle East have consequences that extend far beyond the region itself. And that realization is exactly why the world is paying attention tonight. Tonight, the internet exploded with one question that spread across social media faster than almost any geopolitical rumor we have seen in years. Is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dead? Within minutes, posts began circulating across multiple platforms. Some claim breaking news, others intersect there, and global powers have spent decades trying to maintain influence over the balance of power in the area. This means that when uncertainty appears in a country like Israel, it immediately becomes relevant to Washington. The United States has long maintained a close strategic partnership with Israel. This partnership
That's his
includes
big
intelligence
daddy.
sharing, advanced defense technology development, and extensive diplomatic cooperation. American and Israeli defense systems have been designed to work together. Military planning between the two nations often occurs behind closed doors through high-level coordination. Because of this, policymakers in Washington rarely treat events in Israel as distant regional news. They treat them as developments that could affect broader global stability. And that is exactly why analysts across the United States are paying close attention to the speculation circulating right now. Even if rumors ultimately turn out to be inaccurate, The reaction itself highlights how sensitive the geopolitical landscape has become. But there is another layer to this story that deserves attention. Information itself has become a powerful force in modern politics. In previous decades, geopolitical news moved through relatively controlled channels. Governments released statements, journalists investigated developments, and information gradually reached the public through newspapers or television broadcasts. Today, the process looks very different. Information spreads instantly through social media networks, live stream platforms, and digital communities where millions of people participate in real-time conversations. News breaks online before official confirmations appear. Rumors travel faster than traditional reporting can verify them. This creates a strange environment where public debate sometimes begins before the facts are fully established. And that is precisely what we are witnessing tonight. People around the world are reacting, analyzing, and arguing about the implications of a situation that may still be unfolding behind the scenes. Some viewers believe the rumors indicate deeper instability in the region. Others suspect that the entire story could be part of an organized misinformation effort designed to create confusion or panic. There are even those who view moments like this as examples of how modern media ecosystems amplify speculation before evidence appears. Regardless of which interpretation ultimately proves correct, the reaction reveals something important about the way political narratives evolve in the digital era. The conversation itself becomes a global event. Now let's bring the focus back to American strategy. For decades, U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East has been shaped by a combination of security concerns, economic interests, and diplomatic relationships.
Okay.
The United States has attempted to maintain stability in the region.
Okay. Y'all don't have an update. Let's go. Let's hear about this perfect combination. Yeah. Erika and Epstein. I'm the daddy. I'm the daddy. I'm the pappy boss.
What's the fastest way to go viral right now?
Dancing? Doing
I'm
something
the pappy.
crazy? Posting 3 times a day?
Nope.
And it has to stop. Okay.
Okay. Y'all, I need for y'all to get the likes up. It's time to shift gears. We ready to shift gears. Let me change this out. Y'all ready? Trump furious as Republicans feel his election scheme. Oh, hold on.
They're about to burn Senate Majority Leader John Thune in effigy on the right because he refuses to bring to the Senate floor the SAVE Act, Donald Trump and MAGA's phony piece of legislation that will only result in having tens of millions of Americans lose their right to vote because they don't have proof of citizenship handily on them or a ID with their proper name on it, including women who have gotten married, who don't have access to their birth certificate, their name doesn't match what's on their birth certificate, would all be denied the ability to vote under the SAVE Act.
Everything.
What the rightest of right-wing MAGA want John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, to do is to bring it to a vote on the House floor and perhaps throw away hundreds of years of Senate tradition and get rid of what's called the filibuster. But John Thune's not going to do that, and Donald Trump is sort of mad at him. But right-wing MAGA, like Elon Musk and Cleta Mitchell and Mark Meadows, of all people, back from his Jan 6 insurrection participation and his voting more than once when he was the chief of staff for Donald Trump, is back beating down the door to John Thune. But the filibuster looks like it's going to hold. I'm Michael Popak. You're on the Midas Touch Network and Legal AF. Let's sit at the intersection of law and politics.
Okay, no. I just wanted to see what you was... Okay. So we gonna try to hold on this. Focus, trying to do right. They know he crazy.
And it has to stop.
I'm adopted. I have real ID and passport. I'm hearing conflicting information whether I've proven myself. If you have real ID with that star on it, you're supposed to be okay. You went through the proper channels to get the ID that they're gonna be looking for. It got that star on it, don't it? Let's go.
All right, you guys. Well, I can tell you that this young lady is my whole
Yeah,
mood
you should
today.
be okay.
I'm just telling you right now, if Erika Kirk is ever on a ticket, I am not voting for Erika Kirk.
I'm not
I will
either.
vote for anybody else. I will vote for somebody foreign before I vote for Erika Kirk.
Oh yeah, no.
I'll vote for somebody's pet fish before I vote for Erika Kirk. I am done. I have seen enough. I can no longer bear people defending Erika Kirk in any way, any shape, any form.
Finally,
It
it
has
took
to
you
end.
a
It has
long
to
time
stop.
to get here.
Okay, it has to stop right now. Because we received some follow-up information regarding
took you a long
Erika's time
time.
in New York, confusing time in
been
New
a
York,
long time
specifically
coming.
more details pertaining to what the hell Erika was doing.
What the hell?
Parked at a modeling agency that was frequented
What the
by
hell?
Jeffrey Epstein. And you know what? This information feels pretty explosive. I would say it requires a response. We can't keep pretending that this is just some godly woman who's just being attacked by the internet. Erika's past is checkered. It's very checkered. Her mother, her acquaintances,
Well, what Charlie
everything
didn't
about
know is
this
the
girl
question.
should be sending off alarm bells, especially for the people that keep defending her. Look at the people that keep defending her.
They are part of that
themselves are the
organization.
biggest red flag. Let's jump right back in. Welcome back to Candace. You know, our new rule here is if you see something, say something. We open up investigations to the world because it tends to be that you get a lot of information when you do that. It really is incredible. And as soon as we opened the door to the plausibility that Erika and Jeffrey Epstein may have come across each other, certainly plausible. They seem to be just swimming around each other.
More or less than
More
10
people
years.
began talking and remembering some
How
things.
long were you married?
Now, I'm going to
okay.
preface this by saying that we did not go out to Erika for comment regarding today's episode because it makes very little
Please
sense
hit
if
the
someone
like button.
ignores your first email question to think that they're going to be willing to answer a related follow-up question. Let's get back into this. Next, model management. It was co-founded by Faith Cates. We told you this yesterday, a dear friend to Jeffrey Epstein, all over the emails, 4,000 plus times. Her offices had a ton of Eastern European models that were going through it. She's actually known for having made the careers of various Eastern European models. And like I told you, 1,000 plus times. Her offices had a ton of Eastern European models. One ignores your first email question to think that they're going to be willing to answer a related follow-up question.
Hi, JR.
Let's get back into this. Next, model management. It was co-founded by Faith Cates. We told you this yesterday, a dear friend to Jeffrey Epstein, all over the emails, 4,000 plus times.
And I guarantee
Her offices had a ton of Eastern European models that were going through it. She's actually known for having made the careers of various Eastern European models.
What
Like
you're
I
gonna get
told
is
you guys,
negative.
Jeffrey Epstein
If you speak
was
positive,
around this office a lot.
you will
He
get
frequented
positive.
the office as you would if it
Bible
was your
says
friends.
that you're
All of this
snared
is a
by the
fact.
words of thy mouth.
Now, another interesting
that are
fact is that
taken
Faith
with the words of
Cates,
their mouth.
she actually knew Epstein since before she co-founded
Speak
Next
positive.
because she was actually the vice president of the women's division over at Wilhelmina Models for European models that were going through it. She's actually known for having made the careers of various Eastern European models. And like I told you guys, Jeffrey Epstein was around this office a lot. He frequented the office as you would if it was your friends. All of this is a fact. Now, another interesting fact is that Faith Cates, she actually knew Epstein since before she co-founded Next because she was actually the vice president of the women's division over at Wilhelmina Models first. Wilhelmina Models was co-founded by Fran Rothschild. Okay, Frances Rothschild is her name. Now, why is that interesting? Because you will recall in Jeffrey Epstein's recently released emails that he said to Peter Thiel that he works directly for the Rothschilds family. He's spreading around their money. I will show you that email here so that we can confirm it. It is Jeffrey to Peter. He says, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. I was hoping to figure out a way for the bank that has $160 billion in management to do something in tech. Okay, Frances Rothschild is her name. Now, why is that interesting? Because you will recall in Jeffrey Epstein's recently released emails that he said to Peter Thiel that he works directly for the Rothschilds family. He's spreading around their money. I will show you that email here so that we can confirm it. It is Jeffrey to Peter. He says, as you probably know, I represent the Rothschilds. I was hoping to figure out a way for the bank that has $160 billion in management to do something in tech. Best client list in the world, prehistoric products, it can wait. Okay, just asserting that as a fact here. All right. Now, what is also a fact is that the Rothschilds credit themselves with creating the modern state of Israel. Zionism was therefore their platitude. Zionists were also the people that were squeezing Charlie Kirk at the end of his life, morally blackmailing Charlie Kirk, stressing out Charlie Kirk, pulling money away from Charlie Kirk and the organization. Charlie himself said that he was done with the pro-Israel cause. But then he was murdered. And his wife did a complete 180 like BJ, inviting, frankly, deranged Zionists into the fold. Ben Shapiro, who was in fact an enemy to her husband, effectively opened MEMPHIS. She came out first, and then Ben Shapiro came out second. He was also allowed to Charlie Kirk's show and appeared in person rather in his studio. Very odd. I want you to park that into your mind. She never came out and said anything about Josh Hammer lying when he said effectively that Charlie never blinked on Israel. She never said anything at all about what Charlie was going through. Never said, oh, that donor took money away from him. I'm so angry about that. Not once.
Nope.
Actually, you could argue she did the opposite. She was setting up interviews with the likes of Bear Weiss, pushing Charlie's final book, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, we got it.
My other concern,
now, what is also a fact is that some of the employees and some of the people who were associated parties with Next Models, remember Erika Franz at the office taking meetings.
It can eliminate some of the problems.
Because Erika Kirk, despite her very illustrious, multi-hyphenated career, she's actually never made the claim to have worked for a modeling agency. So what was she doing? That was the question we went out to her with. What were you actually doing here, parked up at this office? What is your connection here to Next Model Agency, Next Model Management? And do you know Faith Cates? How do you know Faith Cates, Erika? Did you see Epstein walking around the office? Fair questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we can now confirm, and these are eyewitness accounts specifically, that they recall Erika because she was taking meetings at the office, and those offices were pertaining to real estate. Real estate for the models that were coming from Eastern Europe, who were being packed like sardines into apartment buildings. Now, on background, in case you're not familiar with the modeling industry, as I am not, the sources confirm that what is typical in the modeling world was for agencies to find places for girls to stay while they were in New York. They tell me, and I'm going to quote this here, I quote, younger girls, when they first get to New York City, they pack them in like cattle into one apartment, end quote. Which makes Erika's role curious, because multiple people remember, and they say that Erika Franzwey was the contact. Specifically, what they recall is she was the contact for a white building on the Upper East Side, around 68th Street and 2nd and 3rd Avenue. It's pretty specific. Yeah, that she was the contact. Now, why? What? Erika's the contact. Got these girls coming. Erika's got these people in, and we've all been trying to figure out what she's doing in real estate. But yeah, that is the memory of the people who were working with and around Next Model Management. Real estate contact. And they said, we don't really know why. They don't know why, and I don't know how. Because the issue that I'm here is that Erika did not actually have her real estate license yet. Remember, real estate licenses are a matter of public record. So how could it be that Erika was working with one of the top modeling agencies in New York City, full stop, regarding, what would you describe it as, real estate deals, allegedly? Was she, maybe she was the property manager? Well, I have another clue, actually, and this is a fact. Erika told people specifically during that time that she was doing real estate deals with her family. Keyword here, family. But which family? Who's the family? We can, I think, reasonably assume that she's not referring to her family back in Scottsdale. Lori doesn't do real estate. She's a tech genius, remember? A sustainability, tech genius, sustainability. It's much more likely that she's in New York and she's saying this, that she's referring to the Rothstein family. You will remember Erika at this time was living with Nicole Rothstein, and it is a fact that Nicole Rothstein did work in real estate, not at the Corcoran Group, but she has a long career in real estate. She went to school for real estate, and she currently runs her own real estate company. And her father, Alan Rothstein, Erika is extremely close with him. She calls him uncle. He was the chairman, might still be the chairman of Wynn Haven Real Estate. And it's not at the Corcoran Group, but she has a long career in real estate. She went to school for real estate, and she currently runs her own real estate company. That she was doing real estate deals with her family. Keyword here, family. But which family? Who's the family? We can, I think, reasonably assume that she's not referring to her family back in Scottsdale. Lori doesn't do real estate. She's a tech genius, remember? A sustainability, tech genius, sustainability. It's much more likely that she's in New York and she's saying this, that she's referring to
Please support the platform. Hit the like button.
Remember,
get a membership,
Erika was living
please.
with Nicole Rothstein, and it is a fact that Nicole Rothstein did work in real estate, not at the Corcoran Group, but she has a long career in real estate. She went to school for real estate, and she currently runs her own real estate company. And her father, Alan Rothstein, Erika is extremely close with him. She calls him uncle. He was the chairman, might still be the chairman of Wynn Haven Real Estate. And yeah, like I said, this is what she wrote about him in on Instagram in 2017. This post reads, "There's something powerful about God's strategic planning when it comes to the people that he has surrounded you. How blessed am I to have individuals like you, Uncle Alan, in my life that are filled with spirit. Constantly seeing life in bloom, I have watched you face adversity and triumph, and in doing so, pass a gift of courage and a message of understanding to those around you, that if you live boldly and fearlessly, the impossible is possible. I love you." Hey, she loves Uncle Alan. Now, I bring this up because I'm just asserting that it is very plausible that these were the people who introduced Erika to the world of real estate. I will also add here that I haven't gone down the Rothstein rabbit hole, but I do know that Rothsteins in New York, if they are at all related to Alan, to the Rothstein that was involved with fixing the White Sox game, that's a Rothschild. That's a Rothschild family member. His mother was a Rothschild. Again, I don't know if that is true, but it sure would be interesting to find that out. Very clearly want to say I'm not asserting that these two did anything wrong, Alan or Nicole. I'm just trying to put the pieces together to establish how Erika, who was herself at this time trying to be booked onto reality TV shows for fashion, or really anything, The American Race, dating, whatever she could, I'm wondering how she pivoted so seamlessly into the genre of real estate. How was she able to climb the ranks so speedily, so high? And by the way, we should read her real estate bio, because it really is something to read Erika's real estate bio, so you understand she was a power player, okay? It reads, and I'm sorry, it's a little bit small for me. Erika Franzfey is a multi-dimensional entrepreneur. She keeps writing that, and I don't really know what that means. Like, is she in 2D? Is she in 4D? Is this like a Tesseract again? Anyway, Erika Franzfey is a multi-dimensional entrepreneur with a bold and steadfast faith that has sustained, sustainability, her borderless heart. She has lived all over the world, from Los Angeles to China, working in the entertainment industry as an agency-represented model, actress, and casting director. She does it all. Several years ago, after her heart was captured by the contagious inspiration of America's most transnational city, She bought a one-way ticket to New York City and made it home. Erika is known throughout her community and deep network base as an influential and positive voice. Her experience working on the developer side of the New York City real estate industry is a tremendous asset to her role as an agent. With a work ethic that is unmatched and a zealous disposition to make a difference, her main focus is the fiduciary relationship. I'm sorry, excuse me? Is she in finance now? With her clients, is she managing their money? I don't know. While placing their real estate needs as her top priority. Who are these clients? Her focus, she says, is fiduciary. It's interesting. We go on. Erika is also the founder and CEO of Everyday Heroes Like You, a 501c3 charitable organization that assists other nonprofits globally. The organization celebrates their 12th year and long-standing partnership with the United States Marine Corps by expanding into China and Costa Rica, while continuing their community outreach programs in the United States and Constanta, Romania. Erika's perseverant spirit has been the driving force behind her eclectic background, from being a former NCAA women's basketball athlete to Miss Arizona USA 2012. She knows what it takes to set a goal and fearlessly pursue it. Erika graduated magna cum laude. We have not been able to confirm that. That seems to be made up, but so is the rest of this bio appear to be made up. So we'll just keep going. With a double major in political science and international relations, that also appears to be made up because international relations was not offered at that year. From Arizona State University, and is currently pursuing a Juris Master degree at Liberty University. It's a lot. It's a mouthful.
You ain't never lied.
I just would like to know, what I'd like to know more than anything is what any of it means. And maybe I'm thinking out loud here.
Okay,
but
so
how
what do you
exactly
do?
Impoverished girls from Eastern Europe, young impoverished girls from Eastern Europe afford apartments in one of the most expensive cities in the world? How are they making money as young models from Eastern Europe? Why is Erika the point person on
She's
that? Allegedly, but the people that dealt with her directly say so. I'd like to hear Erika's feedback on that. What's she doing? Who are these clients, these real estate clients that she's helping with their finances? Also, as an aside, why am I unable to confirm Erika's New York real estate license? I am indeed able to find a relic of it on a third-party site, but I'm not able to independently verify it on New York State's Division of Licenses website now. The New York State, as from what I'm seeing at first glance, is supposed to hold this information for at least 6 years, but I can't find a shred of proof regarding which real estate deals Erika completed. Right, so maybe you guys can help because we're coming to the 6-year deadline. That should be October of this year. Here is her real estate license, relic of it that I found. License number 104013.
I would hate for Erika to be, not Erika, Candace,
Erika. They
to hunt
are
me down.
active for 2 years, so we can discern that it was issued on October 24th of 2018, and it was valid at least until 2020. Anything? Real estate people in New York, let me know what you can find if you can confirm Erika's real estate license and what she sold. Because that bio sounds legit. He's managing some serious clients there. Helping to manage their money, okay, in real estate deals. I'm very interested in that. Now, if you see something, if you know something, maybe you were featured in one of these dimensions with Erika. You went 2D, 4D. I'm in 3D. But maybe you went somewhere else and you saw her. Please, we'd like to hear from you. More tips at CandaceOwens.com. Like I said, this is very obviously something Erika should answer for. You want to be the queen bee? You want to be a public figure? You want people floating your name as for president of the United States? Well, let's get to a little bit of background. Who are you? What were you doing?
Oh, wow.
And the answer should be very clear and very concise because I struggle, gotta be honest, I struggle to believe that Erika was in fact, while in New York, doing real estate deals with fiduciary responsibilities while helping Turning Point USA, filming a reality TV show, also in school full-time to get her Juris Master's followed by her law degree at Liberty, while also studying the mandatory 77 hours to achieve her real estate license, while also running an international charity in partnership with the U.S. Marines halfway around the world in China, while also running a faith-based clothing company, plus,
Romania,
you know, giving advice to Turning Point. Doing
Wasn't
all of
she
that
doing a
at the
brothel?
same time. That's a struggle for me. I can't get there. I don't think she was doing that because I keep not being born yesterday. So hard not being born yesterday. Also, if we're asking questions, how is that Erika is always so tied to Eastern Europe? Why is she just like kind of floating around? Just this girl from Ohio. How does she get linked to Romania and the United States Marines? And
Daddy
today, I
Trump.
should be clear, she presents it as though she was just sending gifts. That's kind of the new thing. Oh, I was just, helping to send Christmas gifts to kids in need in an orphanage. That was it. Organizing gifts being sent, which of course, again, the common sense, that would not require the support of the United States Marines. You can do that right now, today, team. Phone up someone in Romania and ask them for an address, and you can send gifts. Right?
You get a gift.
Expensive to
You
ship.
get a
You could
gift.
probably
You
ground
get a
ship that,
gift. Everybody get a gift.
Her involvement was much more. How do I know? Well, because before the scandal broke and accusations of child trafficking onto the military base, Erika used to claim that she was a bit more involved. A lot more involved. I'll let you take a listen to
It was her
Erika in
business.
her own words during her audition tape for the American Race with her ex-boyfriend. Here's what she says about Romanian Angels. Take a listen.
We just have a borderless heart to help people and to give back. And, I have been to Romania and teamed up with the Marine Corps to open up and sustain an orphanage with 75 beautiful
Perfect.
children.
She is
and
queen
that's called
of
Romanian
perfect.
Angels through my nonprofit Everyday Heroes Like You.
Everyday
She
here.
opened up in partnership with the
We just have a borderless heart to help people and to give back. And, I have been to Romania and teamed up with the Marine Corps to open up and sustain an orphanage with 75 beautiful children. And that's called Romanian Angels through my nonprofit Everyday Heroes Like You.
She opened up in partnership with the Marines. She opened up and she sustained an orphanage. So I would like to know more about that. I do. I now need to know more about that.
Thank you, Deetra.
I do think
For the
that
flowers.
the TikTokers were
I
not so
feel
crazy.
so honored.
Instantly going down that rabbit hole and asking for more information. And I feel even more compelled to get information about that because according to one of the former children, now an adult, a former child, now an adult, who was
It wasn't
adopted
good.
out of Antonio's placement center, that is notably a corrupt orphanage. Okay?
Absolutely.
This is, and she's referring to Antonio's placement center, just to make it clear for you guys, Everyday Heroes is her 501c3, and then they do various projects. This was called the Romanian Angels Project, and they did this, the Romanian Angels, so to speak, were living at Antonio's placement center in Constanta, Romania, where our base was. And I'm going to read you this email from someone who was placed from the Antonio Placement Center. Just it reads, Dear Candace, I am writing to share personal historical context regarding the Antonio Placement Center in Constanta, Romania, which may be relevant to your reporting on Erika Kirk and the Romanian Angels Project. While
Please
independent fact checkers have
hit
found
the like
no
button.
evidence linking Ms. Kirk's work to illicit activities.
Can we pause for a minute and hit the three dots at the top right corner? Hit those three dots and hit the like button for me. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I need about 50 likes. Can we handle that really, really quick? And if you don't see the three dots, just double tap the face of your screen. Is that okay?
I believe the history of the Antonio Placement Center warrants further investigation. I was personally placed in this center under dubious circumstances involving misdiagnosis and institutional pressure before being adopted internationally. This center in particular, a notorious for corruption and
I
illicit
feel so
activities
different
such as
about
trafficking children,
adoptions,
which is why I was shocked that
or
out of all
leaving
of the
your
placement
kids
centers
at
in
the
Romania, this was the
mailbox
center
of
that
the
she chose to partner with.
fire
It
department.
is
I just feel
noteworthy
totally
that Ms.
different
Kirk's
now about
promotional
all of that.
materials from approximately 2012 to 2014 specifically referenced the Antonio Placement Center as a partner for her international efforts. This intersection is significant because the institution has been part of a broader system criticized for lack of transparency and the documented practice of placing children in care based on catastrophic language rather than medical or social necessity. In my own case, I was labeled with severe impairments that were not supported by my developmental records. Given how much history there is about Romanian institutional practices, adoption controversies, and the experience of people who grew up in these centers, it seems important to look beyond the social media claims and consider the history and operations of Antonio Placement Center itself. Best regards, Larissa. Well, I hear that call, and I would like to hear from some more people who were adopted from the Antonio Placement Center in Constanta. Also, if you live in Romania, you have access to documents. I would like to know, I would like to separate fact from fiction, or Erika from Erika. Did they start and open the Antonio Placement Center? Does that mean they took over the Antonio Placement Center? Was the U.S. Marine operating it? Or were they just pretending to give gifts? I want to know as much as there is to know because I have the ick. And speaking of the ick, we should talk about Tyler Boyer, Erika's friend, her dear friend, who introduced her to her husband, but for the life of her, she cannot remember how they met. It's a difficult one, tricky one, very tricky one. I had a person sent me a recent conversation that they had on social media with Tyler, because he gets a little snippy on social media, gaslights people, pretends he's a good guy. And this is his excuse for why he was in Romania in 2010. It's good to see it. Tyler says that this person was his business partner. I'm skipping to the bottom here. I studied Romanian in college to complement my Russian studies and did a few weeks studying abroad in school. Not everything is a conspiracy. I feel it is a conspiracy. I don't think it is just ironic that you happened to go right when the military base got set up and when Dennis Franzfei was there. I don't buy that. And I got interested because I said a Romanian program. That sounds unique. Does Arizona State University have a Romanian program? And they do, and the history of it. I actually was shocked. Romanian programs are rare, and there's no major, but Arizona State University is actually the only university in America that you can even achieve a minor in Romanian studies. How random. And the history of how this program developed is pretty precise. In 2010, the very year that Tyler Boyer went over to Romania, Arizona State University became the site of an honorary consulate general of Romania in Arizona. Effectively, just to understand that, a Romanian embassy on ASU campus, an honorary Romanian embassy was established in 2010. And then in 2011, the program inaugurated the first Romanian lectorate, the first in an American academic environment. And it was funded by a Romanian Language Institute. They also launched, ASU, the Central European Cultural Collaborative, which facilitates partnerships with Romanian universities. Now, there's a bit of a revolving door. 2010 was one hell of a year for Romania and Arizona. That's what I would definitely say.
Thank you, Mrs. Tom.
But this relationship has continued. They also launched the Consulate General of Romania in Arizona. Effectively, just to understand that, a Romanian embassy on ASU campus, an honorary Romanian embassy was established in 2010. And then in 2011, the program inaugurated the first Romanian lectorate, the first in an American academic environment. And it was funded by a Romanian Language Institute. They also launched, ASU, the Central European Cultural Collaborative, which facilitates partnerships with Romanian universities. Now, there's a bit of a revolving door. It was one hell of a year for Romania and Arizona. That's what I would definitely say. But this relationship has continued, you guys. You're not going to believe this, but big news.
It's still what?
Beginning in July of last year, a few months before Charlie was assassinated, now Arizona is becoming further embedded with Romania. They are the first and the only state to open a trade office in Romania. This was announced. Let's check out this headline. I promise you, Arizona to be the first U.S. state to open a trade office in Romania. That sure is something. The Romania to Arizona pipeline sure feels like something. So I would like to say, in closing, that we should pay attention to this. We're starting to see how this world works, and this is weird.
Very.
This is weird. Do not let Tyler gaslight you in conversations. It's odd. This should be screaming at you as it is screaming at me that something's not right. Turning Point headquarters, a location picked by Tyler Boyer. Charlie Kirk didn't even open the organization, so it started in Chicago. He says, oh, this is going to be great. They choose a spot for their campus that is a trafficking hotbed, factually. Erika's strange attachment to Tyler Boyer, but lack of a memory regarding Tyler Boyer. Superfeed Incorporated, where Erika's mother is serving as a board member with Tyler Boyer. And Superfeed, by the way, read the fine print on Turning USA's app. Superfeed owns the copyright, which means that's where your data is going. Just pretty interesting there. Turning Point allegedly getting into real estate. Tyler Boyer being at the forefront of that, according to the tips that we've received. That's a little bit of ick, right? Charlie establishing a Doge 7 days before he died. BB's phone call in the Hamptons. Donald Trump, pageantry world. The Epstein files.
Yep.
What Epstein files? Are we still talking about the Epstein files? Trump make fetch happen with Erika Kirk. Photos. Oh, we're supposed to just view her as some sort of a leader.
Yeah.
As if she was promised it for some reason. Like she was guaranteed keys to Charlie's empire. Why?
She better not trust
All
me.
of this sticks to high heaven. You know it. I know it. Any rational people in the world know it. And we're not going to let up. We'll be back after a break.
Please
All right, you
hit
guys,
the
Mimi
like
Skincare
button.
is the only skincare brand that I've actually...
Can I get y'all to hit the like button for me, please? Please, please, please. Ow! My earpiece. Please, please, please. Please, please, please. Please. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's go. Come on, good people. You can do it. Who likes to say that to Scooter? You can do it. You can do it. When I start doing all that crazy stuff he used to do, he'd be like, no, I can't. Huh? I can't do it. I can't do it. Please hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, he and Orange were best friends. Yep.
Candace. All right, fetch ain't fetching, Gretch. Just not fetching. I'm sorry, Trump.
It ain't.
Now, some of us were actually grieving Charlie Kirk. Turning Point USA, on the other hand, was grieving differently. Just differently. Turns out there was no pathway.
Oh, so
in
now
which
he's
these-
admitting that there are over 1,000 unalive soldiers. I see after 9 days of strikes against Iran, U.S. returns home 1,100 of its unalived soldiers. Wow. It took people to start outing you from over there for y'all to tell the truth. Because yesterday it was just one other person. Yeah, I think it made it to 8 yesterday. And now all of a sudden it's saying 1,100. Yeah, y'all so trifling. Oh my God.
Goblins were not trying to strike gold off of his name, including Lady / Candace. All right, fetch ain't fetching, Gretch.
That's ain't.
Just not fetching. I'm sorry, Trump. Now, some of us were actually grieving Charlie Kirk. Turning Point USA, on the other hand, was grieving differently. Just differently. Turns out there was no pathway in which these goblins were not trying to strike gold off of his name, including, ladies and gentlemen, in case you missed it,
let's go,
at the DMV. Man, I had quite a chuckle about this. Either like, the DMV, let's make some money. So apparently what happened was back in January, Arizona Senator named Jake Hoffman. Now, I should let you know, Jake Hoffman is a dear friend of Tyler Boyer, a partner of Tyler Boyer. He formerly used to work at Turning Point USA. They make money together. I knew Jake Hoffman, okay? This ain't some senator. I didn't know Charlie, but I was impacted. And no, okay? He's a chuckle about this. Either like, what else can we do? The DMV, let's make some money. So apparently what happened was back in January, Arizona Senator named Jake Hoffman. Now, I should let you know, Jake Hoffman is a dear friend of Tyler Boyer, a partner of Tyler Boyer. He formerly used to work at Turning Point USA. They make money together. I knew Jake Hoffman, okay? This ain't some senator. I didn't know Charlie, but I was impacted. And no, okay? He's embedded with Turning Point USA. And Jake Hoffman, back on January 28th, introduced a bill for a state license plate to honor Charlie Kirk. You know, guys, it's all about honoring him. Legacy. Now, the proposed specialty plate, which was going to be referred to as a Charlie Kirk Memorial Plate, was essentially going to feature a photo of Charlie and the Turning Point USA logo in front of an American flag background. A little shameless.
Get the likes up. Get the likes up. Get the likes up for me. Get the likes up. Get the likes up. Get the likes up for me. One thing is for sure, your death allowed a lot of us to see the truth. So help us God. Our light bulb most definitely came on. I will give you that.
Promotion, and below the license plate, as you just saw, the words were going to read for Charlie, because it was definitely for Charlie. Okay, I'm sure somewhere there's an interview where they're going to explain to us, like, oh, I had a competition with him, and Charlie said, wouldn't it be so great if my face was on a plate? I'm sure, right? The ghost of Charlie, always when nobody's there, says exactly what they're trying to accomplish. Anyway, so this goes through, and the Senate passed. They passed the bill, 16-2, and then the House of Reps also voted in favor of the bill, 31-23.
It makes no sense.
And now, in case you're thinking, maybe that's sweet, maybe this really was for Charlie, you should think again. You should remember that we're speaking about Turning Point USA. There's got to be money somewhere, right? There's got to be ka-ching, ka-ching somewhere.
Ching, ching, ching.
So how it actually would have worked is that...
why are there no likes going up? That just blows my mind. Women, families, UFO. Y'all don't have 3 dots at the top corner right? Y'all don't have that? Y'all don't have those buttons up there? Thank you,
paid a $25
y'all don't have those 3 dots
for that specialty plate, $17 of which would have been an annual donation. They introduced a bill for a state license plate to honor Charlie Kirk. You know, guys, it's all about honoring him. Legacy. Now, the proposed specialty plate, which was going to be referred to as a Charlie Kirk Memorial Plate, was essentially going to feature a photo of Charlie and the Turning Point USA logo in front of an American flag background. A little shameless promotion. And below the license plate, as you just saw, the words were going to read for Charlie, because it was definitely for Charlie. Okay? I'm sure somewhere there's an interview where they're going to explain to us, like, oh, I had a conversation with him, and Charlie said, wouldn't it be so great if my face was on a plate? I'm sure, right? The ghost of Charlie, always when nobody's there, says exactly what they're trying to accomplish. Anyway, so this goes through, and the Senate passed. They passed the bill, 16-2, and then the House of Reps also voted in favor of the bill, 31-23. And now, in case you're thinking, maybe that's sweet, maybe this really was for Charlie, you should think again. You should remember that we're speaking about Turning Point USA. There's got to be money somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
There's got to be ka-ching, ka-ching somewhere.
It's all about money, and ain't
so
a
how it
dang
actually
thing
would have worked
funny.
is that you would have paid a $25 fee for that specialty plate, $17 of which would have been annual donation deposited into a conservative grassroots network special plate fund, according to the legislation. And while the recipient of the grassroots network special plate fund was not explicitly stated as being Turning Point USA in the bill, it did note that the director of the fund would allocate the revenue annually to a nonprofit organization founded in 2012 that focuses on restoring traditional values and maintaining a grassroots activist network on high school and college campuses in Arizona, and assisting college students with voter registration and absentee ballots. They just, no shame. There's no shame. It's amazing. It's amazing to think through the new CEO really being up there like, these YouTubers are making thousands of dollars investigating who killed my husband. Thousands of dollars they are making. Look at them. I can't believe it. Shame. But what happens thereafter is Katie Hobbs, who is the governor, vetoed the bill. Quite rationally, I might add. She wrote a very nice letter. And basically her reasoning, her letter, I'll read it here. She said, today I vetoed SB 1439. Charlie Kirk's assassination is tragic and a horrifying act of violence. In America, we resolve our political differences at the ballot box. No matter who it targets, political violence puts us all in harm's way and damages our sacred democratic institutions. I will continue working toward solutions and bringing people together, but this bill falls short of that standard by inserting politics into a function of government that should remain nonpartisan. Sincerely, Kate Hobbs. Yeah. Maybe if I was governor, I would add a couple lines about y'all are shameless, you're crazy, your mama should be ashamed of you, but, I'm not the governor. I'm probably never going to be a governor, for being fair. Now, of course, Turning Point USA is in for the spin. They're outraged. Jake Hoffman is outraged. Were there going to be kickbacks? Who knows? There's a lot. There's a relationship there. The Farnsworths, Jake Hoffman, Tyler, thick as thieves. Here's what Jake Hoffman said on Fox News regarding her decision.
What's your response to the governor when she says that honoring Charlie Kirk, quote, falls short of that standard of bringing people together?
Well, listen, the only thing that falls short, unfortunately, is Katie Hobbs' track record actually trying to unite the people of Arizona. Look, Charlie Kirk was an incredible man. He was a friend of mine for 11 years. And when he passed, the memorial we held, it's the only time in Arizona history that we filled 2 professional sports stadiums to honor and run tribute to the life of an Arizona citizen. He built a national organization with a global impact, reaching all the way from South Korea to London when he passed away. There's no doubt that he was a uniter. He was someone who championed free speech, and he was a civil rights leader of our time.
Jake, here's what I don't get. There are other license plates, including some that are tied to conservative causes, that have been approved. We have Choose Life. That's from the Arizona Life Coalition and its mission to promote anti-abortion advocacy. We have one from Alliance Defending Freedom, talking about conservative Christian legal advocacy, yet the precedent that she says isn't there. Is there anything different in these Charlie plates versus what you're seeing on your screen?
No, the reality is that Katie Hobbs has repeatedly been petty and partisan in everything that she's done, whether it be her nominees that she appoints to run the state agencies, or whether it be her veto track record. In fact, just last year, she vetoed about 9 of my bills, and I chair the nominations committee, and she used the acronym of the committee as her reason for the veto. She's legally required to give us a reason, and she used the acronym of the committee to do it. She is nakedly partisan, and this is why we have to make sure that there is a new governor elected come this November.
No, I don't care if Katie Hobbs wins the gubernatorial race. I don't care if a Republican wins. I am just so disgusted with politics in general that we're even pretending this is a left or right issue. Just say we want money. Just say we want to grift off of Charlie's death every which way and manner that we can. Just say we want the $17 out of the $25. Let's stop pretending it's about politics. Let's stop pretending it's about Democrat versus Republican. Let's just acknowledge that on both sides, everybody's filth. Everybody is filth. And the people that they want to steal from are the people that come to the DMV who have souls and actually will look up and go, wow, I was really impacted by Charlie's assassination, and I would like to have that plate so that it can be in memory of him. And at the end of the day, who's that going to? Who's that money going to? It's going to his wife's organization now. And the messaging is apparently you can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. I want you guys to know that. This is the messaging coming out of Turning Point USA. You can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. You can't honor him by remembering the words that he said. You can't honor him. We got to take down all of his episodes. We have to make sure we hide interviews of things he said. We have to direct the ghost of Charlie. We have to pretend he's didn't have all that going on with the Zionists at the end. We got to welcome them into the fold as all of his enemies. Just give us money. We want your money. At all times of the day, we want your money. It is the only way that you can honor Charlie. Just absolutely disgusting. And I had to share that with you guys because I just thought to myself, there's just no end. And by the way, of course, Tyler Boyer jumped into the fold because that's his boy. And here's what he said on X. He wrote, every nonprofit in Arizona that has major roots has a license plate. Katie Hobbs vetoed this over politics after Charlie was brutally murdered. Disgusting. Yeah, I'm sure you just wanted that in memorial. I'm sure that was it, because that's obviously these are things he said. We have to direct the ghost of Charlie. We have to pretend he's didn't have all that going on with the Zionists at the end. We got to welcome them into the fold as all of his enemies. Just give us money. We want your money. At all times of the day, we want your money. It is the only way.
I chair the nominations committee, and she used the acronym of the committee as her reason for the veto. She's legally required to give us a reason, and she used the acronym of the committee to do it. She is nakedly partisan, and this is why we have to make sure that there is a new governor elected come this November.
No, I don't care if Katie Hobbs wins the gubernatorial race. I don't care if a Republican wins. I am just so disgusted with politics in general that we're even pretending this is a left or right issue. Just say we want money. Just say we want to grift off of Charlie's death every which way and manner that we can. Just say we want the $17 out of the $25. Let's stop pretending it's about politics. Let's stop pretending it's about Democrat versus Republican. Let's just acknowledge that on both sides, everybody's filth. Everybody is filth. And the people that they want to steal from are the people that come to the DMV who have souls and actually will look up and go, wow, I was really impacted by Charlie's assassination, and I would like to have that plate so that it can be in memory of him. And at the end of the day, who's that going to? Who's that money going to? It's going to his wife's organization now. And the messaging is apparently you can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. I want you guys to know that. This is the messaging coming out of Turning Point USA. You can always honor Charlie with your hard. Just say we want money. Just say we want to grift off of Charlie's death every which way and manner that we can. Just say we want the $17 out of the $25. Let's stop pretending it's about politics. Let's stop pretending it's about Democrat versus Republican. Let's just acknowledge that on both sides, everybody's filth. Everybody is filth. And the people that they want to steal from are the people that come to the DMV who have souls and actually will look up and go, wow, I was really impacted by Charlie's assassination, and like I would like to have that plate so that it can be.
Hold on. Hold on, y'all. Ouch. Okay.
In memory of him, and at the end of the day, who's that going to? Who's that money going to? It's going to his wife's organization now, and the messaging is apparently you can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. I want you guys to know that. This is the messaging coming out of Turning Point USA. You can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. You can't honor him by remembering the words that he said. You can't honor him.
Oh,
We got to take
no.
down all of his episodes.
Yeah, a
we
little
have to
bit.
make
When
sure
I
we
eat
hide
stuff, I
interviews of things he
probably
said. We
shouldn't
have
be
to
eating.
direct the ghost of Charlie. We have to pretend he's like,
But it's not
didn't
100,
have all that
no.
going on with the Zionists at the
Thank you,
end. We got to
Joe.
welcome them into the fold as all of his enemies.
And I'm on my elbow.
Just give
Let
us
me
money.
sit up.
We want your money. At all times of the day, we want your money. It is the only way that you can honor Charlie. Just absolutely disgusting. And I had to share that with you guys because I just thought to myself, there's just no end. And by the way, of course, Tyler Boyer jumped into the fold because that's his boy. And here's what he said on X. He wrote, every nonprofit in Arizona that has major roots has a license plate. Katie Hobbs vetoed this over politics after Charlie was brutally murdered. Disgusting. Yeah, I'm sure you just wanted that in memorial. I'm sure that was it, because like that's obviously who Tyler Boyer is, and these were Charlie's best friends in the world. That my money. At all times of the day, we want your money. It is the only way that you can honor Charlie. Just absolutely by Charlie's assassination, and like I would like to have that plate so that it can be in memory of him. And at the end of the day, who's that going to? Who's that money going to? It's going to his wife's organization now. And
you call me
the messaging
silly?
is apparently you can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. I want you guys to know that. This is the messaging coming out of Turning Point USA. You can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money.
Some stuff I don't even know.
You can't honor him by
is
remembering the words that he said.
inflammatory.
You can't honor him. We got to take down all of his episodes.
I only know it when I eat
We have
it.
to make sure we hide interviews of things he said. We have to direct the ghost of Charlie. We have to pretend he's like, didn't have all that going on with the Zionists at the end. We got to welcome them into the fold as all of his enemies. Just give us money. We want your money. At all times of the day, we want your money. It is the only way that you can honor Charlie. Just absolutely disgusting. And I had to share that with you guys because I just thought to myself, there's just no end. And by the way, of course, Tyler Boyer jumped into the fold because that's his boy. And here's what he said on X. He wrote, every nonprofit in Arizona that has major roots has a license plate. Katie Hobbs vetoed this over politics after Charlie was brutally murdered. Disgusting. Yeah, I'm sure you just wanted that in memorial. I'm sure that was it, because like that's obviously who Tyler Boyer is, and these were Charlie's best friends in the world. That, my friend, is the problem. Anyway, we will be right back to answer some of your comments after a quick break. All right, you guys, if there's one thing that I have realized is that how you sleep really does shape how you feel the next day. And lately, one of my favorite upgrades at home has been my Cozy Earth Comforter. It's one of those things that you notice immediately. The fabric is incredibly soft, but what really makes a difference is how breathable and Masterpiece reports some incredible benefit of toxins. You simply feel better. And I'm really wondering, do you have to sell your soul to be in politics? Or is that just a rhetorical question that's going through my mind? Top comments from last episode. Stephalor writes, let's all say who tunes in along with us every day to watch CO. I wish they'd just come on the show.
Oh, wow.
I've made the offer. I mean it. I'm wanting to sit down with them. I particularly would love to have a public conversation with Erika Kirk, who has nothing to hide, except a lot of stuff, apparently.
Okay. Am I back? Has it stopped buffering? Nope. Hold on. Hold on.
And it has to stop. Okay, it has to stop right now. Because we received some follow-up information regarding Erika's time. They introduced a bill for a state license plate. And wouldn't it be so great if my face was on a plate somewhere, right? There's gotta be ka-ching, ka-ching somewhere. So how it actually would have who killed my husband. Thousands of dollars they are making. Look at them. I can't believe it. Shame. But what happens thereafter is Katie Hobbs, who is the governor, vetoed the bill. Quite rationally, I might add. She wrote a very nice letter. And basically her reasoning, her letter, I'll read it here. She said, today I vetoed SB 1439. Charlie Kirk's assassination is tragic and a horrifying act of violence. In America, we resolve our political differences at the ballot box. No matter who it targets, political violence puts us all in harm's way and damages our sacred democratic institutions. I will continue working toward solutions and bringing people together, but this bill falls short of that standard by inserting politics into a function of government that should remain nonpartisan. Sincerely, Kate Hobbs. Yeah. Maybe if I was governor, I would add a couple lines about y'all are shameless, you're crazy, your mama should be ashamed of you, but, I'm not the governor. I'm probably never going to be a governor, for being fair. Now, of course, Turning Point USA is in for the spin. They're outraged. Jake Hoffman is outraged. But they're going to be kickbacks. Who knows? There's a relationship there. The Farnsworths, Jake Hoffman, Tyler, thick as thieves. Here's what Jake Hoffman said on Fox News regarding her decision.
What's your response to the governor when she says that honoring Charlie Kirk, quote, falls short of that standard of bringing people together?
Well, listen, the only thing that falls short, unfortunately, is Katie Hobbs' track record actually trying to unite the people of Arizona. Look, Charlie Kirk was an incredible man. He was a friend of mine for 11 years. And when he passed, the memorial we held, it's the only time in Arizona history that we filled 2 professional sports stadiums to honor and run tribute to the life of an Arizona citizen. He built a national organization with a global impact, reaching all the way from South Korea to London when he passed away. There's no doubt that he was a uniter. He was someone who championed free speech, and he was a civil rights leader of our time.
Jake, here's what I don't get. There are other license plates, including some that are tied to conservative causes, that have been approved. We have Choose Life. That's from the Arizona Life Coalition and its mission to promote anti-abortion advocacy. We have one from Alliance Defending Freedom, talking about conservative Christian legal advocacy, yet the precedent that she says isn't there. Is there anything different in these Charlie plates versus what you're seeing on your screen?
No, the reality is that Katie Hobbs has repeatedly been petty and partisan in everything that she's done, whether it be her nominees that she appoints to run the state agencies, or whether it be her veto track record. In fact, just last year, she vetoed. Hobbs has repeatedly been petty and partisan in everything that she's done, whether it be her nominees that she appoints to run the state agencies, or whether it be her veto track record. In fact, just last year, she vetoed about 9 of my bills, and I chair the nominations committee, and she used the acronym of the committee as her reason for the veto. She's legally required to give us a reason, and she used the acronym of the committee to do it. She is nakedly partisan, and this is why we have to make sure that there is a new governor elected come this November.
No, I don't care if Katie Hobbs wins the gubernatorial race. I don't care if a Republican wins. I am just so disgusted with politics in general that we're even pretending this is a left or right issue. Just say we want money. Just say we want to grift off of Charlie's death every which way and manner that we can. Just say we want the $17 out of the $25. Let's stop pretending it's about politics. Let's stop pretending it's about Democrat versus Republican.
Thank you.
Let's just acknowledge that on both sides, everybody's filth. Everybody is filth. And the people that they want to steal from are the people that come to the DMV who have souls and actually will look up and go, wow, I was really impacted by Charlie's assassination, and I would like to have that plate so that it can be in memory of him. And at the end of the day, Who's that going to? Who's that money going to? It's going to his wife's organization now. And the messaging is apparently you can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. I want you guys to know that. This is the messaging coming out of Turning Point USA. You can always honor Charlie with your hard-earned money. You can't honor him by remembering the words that he said. You can't honor him. We got to take down all of his episodes. We have to make sure we hide interviews of things he said. We have to direct the ghost of Charlie. We have to pretend he's like, didn't have all that going on with the Zionists at the end. We got to welcome them into the fold as all of his enemies. Just give us money. We want your money. At all times of the day, we want your money. It is the only way that you can honor Charlie. Just absolutely disgusting. And I had to share that with you guys because I just thought to myself, there's just no end. And by the way, of course, Tyler Boyer jumped into the fold because that's his boy. And here's what he said on X. He wrote, every nonprofit in Arizona that has major roots has a license plate. Katie Hobbs vetoed this over politics after Charlie was brutally murdered. Disgusting. Yeah, I'm sure you just wanted that in memorial. I'm sure that was it because, that's obviously who Tyler Boyer is. And these were Charlie's best friends in the world. That, my friend, is the problem. Anyway, we will be right back to answer some of your comments after a quick break. All right, you guys, if there is one thing that
Please, I'm going to pause. Get the likes up. I'm going to pause. I'm going to go, and then I'll come back. Do whatever you need to do. Hit the three dots at the top right corner. I need the likes up. I'm going an hour and 45 minutes in. I need the likes up. That's all I can stand. I can't stand no more. Three dots at the top right corner. Let's go. Good. Let's go.
Anyway, we will be right back to answer some of your comments after a quick break. All right, you guys, warranty, which just shows heavy metals, microplastics, and so-called formula designed to safely and effectively clearer thinking, better brain function, improved fertility. About is a huge boost in their energy. When your body detoxing today, and as a viewer, you will get 10% off your out. I'm really wondering, do you have to sell your soul to be in politics? Or does that just like make it easier? You know, is it a requirement or does it just make it easier? Out. I'm really wondering, do you have to sell your soul to be in politics? Or does that just like make it easier? You know, is it a requirement or does it just make it easier? Anyway, that just a rhetorical question that's going through my mind. Top comments from last episode. Stephalor writes, let's all give a warm welcome to Erika, Kirk, Blake, Andrew, Mikey, and everyone else at Turning Point USA who tunes in along with us every day to watch CO. I wish they'd just come on the show. I've made the offer. I mean it. I'm wanting to sit down with them. I particularly would love to have a public conversation with Erika, Kirk, who has nothing to hide.
Never had one.
Except a lot of stuff, apparently. Olivia Joy writes, one thing Candace has shown for sure is that everything eventually connects. I just think Romania, New York real estate, the politics of it all, reality TV, there are some themes here that are hard to ignore, is what I would say. Easy Hammer writes, since for today's episode, I heard Erika's written words spoken out loud. It gives me the same level of cringe as watching her. Oh, hearing Erika's written words spoken out loud gives me the same level of cringe as watching her say them on TV. It's so many words to say nothing. That drives me insane. Just say less. Just say less. James the Least writes, being on the board of the U.S. Air Force Academy sounds like the kind of job that you would need a background check for.
Oh, okay.
Certainly. Well, her background is, I'm Charlie's wife. Hear me roar. I'm Charlie's wife. Charlie was qualified, so why am I not qualified? Isn't that how it works? And I just instantly become, my husband's very good at math. I'm not so good at math. But I guess just say I'm good at math, I guess, or something. Amy Loves Music writes, I know everything that you are saying is true. It's been going on for years. It's hard to trust anything. I love what you are doing, what you can to find out the truth for your friend Charlie. I am not sure anything will ever be done. I am saddened by how the world is so corrupt. I'm wondering, real estate in general, like, is that just sort of, are we doing illegal things, right? Because real estate is how you hide money. It's like, tradition. It's pretty traditional. It's traditional historical understanding. A lot of real estate involved in this story is all I'm saying. And I find, like I said, her floating around Jeffrey Epstein in his orbit to be interesting. Very interesting. Miss Cato writes, I just don't get it. Had I been CK's wife, I would have had Candace and Tucker headlining his memorial and making his donors, who made him so fearful, regret the day that they started threatening him. You would be a normal person, right? You would have that anger. You would have that rage. You would be like, I don't even want to look at you because of the last thing that you said to Charlie. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Not Erika. No.
Yeah.
She
was down with it.
Overcome with the spirit of the Lori or something, and just was like, I feel the opposite. I want to make amends with his enemies and send my PR person to attack his friends. S. Beth writes, for anyone questioning how fiercely Candace and Charlie fought for each other, watch their Turning Point event in Hawaii. I saw it again recently and nearly cried. Even now, though he's gone, they still stand together in this battle. I have not seen that. I can't even remember the context of what you're speaking about. I obviously remember going to Hawaii with Charlie, and it was a great time. I remember we were wearing the leis. But yeah, I mean, it is a thing. It is a thing. We did always have each other's back, and I think that's partially what drives them crazy, is they tried to spin a narrative that they know there's not a shred of proof for. There just isn't a shred of proof for the idea that he was anything but my brother and that we fought a lot of battles together, even when we disagreed on topics, which there were some topics that we did disagree on, and then eventually we sort of met back up in the middle. And let me tell you, we were certainly meeting back up in the middle on the topic of Zionism. Very much so. He was sick of being bullied. He made that clear. I also want to say to you guys who want to support us, you can support us. There's new merch available on the website. This is my fave. You're going to love this. Daddy's Home Shabbat Shalom. We're doing this for Blake. We deeply upset him, and we felt like we wanted to make amends with our refusal to acknowledge how much Shabbat Shalom is real and loved. Daddy's home, Shabbat Shalom, crew necks. And we might even start selling
Shabbat
dreidels.
shalom.
I don't
Daddy's
know
home.
right now. We might start selling dreidels and latkes online. I have one more comment to hear from
Hi,
Jay
Jay
Nichols, who writes,
Harris.
Melania used to be by DJT's side all the time. Ever since CK's murder, she's been almost non-existent. What are your thoughts? Love you, girl. I admire your bravery and that you let no one walk all over you with the exception of your kiddos. Actually, ironically, Melania's name came up with this next modeling thing they were speaking about, because, you know, Melania came from Serbia and she was a model and she was in circles in their orbit. I don't believe she was not managed by Next Model, but it's a small New York City world. And they actually quite liked Melania and said that people who thought that she aspirationally wanted to be the first lady probably had it very wrong, and that she was quite aloof, and that they knew she would end up with somebody powerful, but that she did not probably aspire to be the first lady. So that's just a bit of feedback. Take from it what you will. I did quite enjoy Melania. I did spend some time with her, and I think she's very smart. I wonder, I feel the whole family let Charlie down, not demanding a further investigation.
Get them likes up, double
just allowing
tap.
all of this BS to happen.
Yeah.
Continuing to
I
not
hope
ask
you
questions.
didn't go up
the entire
when you came
Trump
in,
family
Jay
to me
Harris.
has in effect
Oh,
betrayed the
y'all get
legacy
the likes up.
of
I'm
Charlie
trying to
Kirk.
go another.
Anyway, you guys, want to let you know our show is available in Spanish, French, and Portuguese. Link is in the description. I think that's it. That's everything. We will see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, don't get. Thank you. I'm trying. Melania, they trying to come out. They trying to have them pictures come out. Let me see. Let me see some.
Unchanged, unchallenged.
Aren't that Donald Kirk? I mean, oh Lord. Donald Kirk. Well, Lord. Donald Trump. I know I'm sleepy. Donald Trump, ain't that him? Let's see.
I wrote a lot about Trump's mentor, Roy Cohn, who was, among other things, the general counsel to McCarthy. During the McCarthy hearings, he was also, a New York City lawyer that represented a lot of unsavory figures, including some tied to organized crime, and also had the ear of Ronald Reagan and top politicians in the United States, and sort of bridged a variety of worlds. And he very much essentially, a New York City lawyer that represented a lot of unsavory figures, including some tied to organized crime, and also had the ear of Ronald Reagan and top politicians in the United States. I wrote a lot about Trump's mentor, Roy Cohn, who was, among other things, the general counsel to McCarthy. During the McCarthy hearings, he was also, a New York City lawyer that represented a lot of unsavory figures, including some tied to organized crime, and also had the ear of Ronald Reagan and top politicians in the United States, and sort of bridged a variety of worlds. And he very much essentially taught Trump
A hidden system of power operates above the law, unchanged, unchallenged, and passed down through generations.
He essentially taught Trump the art of the deal, and, a lot of his close associates, like the Pope, the general counsel to McCarthy. During the McCarthy hearings, he was also, a New York City lawyer that represented a lot of unsavory figures, including some tied to organized crime, and also had the ear of Ronald Reagan and top politicians in the United States, and sort of bridged a variety of worlds. And he very much essentially taught Trump
A hidden system of power operates above the law, unchanged, unchallenged, and passed down through generations.
He essentially taught Trump the art of the deal. And, you know, a lot of his close associates, like the Pope family, were very politically connected, also connected to organized crime, arguably, but were very much in the business of making backroom deals. Some people just are protected and above the law, almost inexplicably. And, you know, as I point out in my book, it's a lot of the same actors over and over again, the same institutions, and you can see when one institution crumbles, another one pops up in its place. So as an example in the book, I talk a lot about the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI, that implodes in 1991. It's covered up by William Barr when he was Attorney General, who covered up Iran-Contra, the Promise Software scandal, and BCCI, all as being Attorney General, and later would example in the book, I talk a lot about the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, BCCI, that implodes in 1991. It's covered up by William Barr when he was Attorney General, who covered up Iran-Contra, the Promise Software scandal, and BCCI, all as being Attorney General, and later would return to kind of do that. And for Trump won when he was, you know, Attorney General again. But after BCCI implodes, a lot of their portfolio of, you know, organized crime and shady interests goes to the banks of that are sort of related to this guy named Edmund Safra. And Edmund Safra dies in his home, supposedly from, the story is very bizarre, but from arson allegedly set by his American nurse because she wanted to set a fire and then save him from it, but then didn't save him from it. It's fine. Anyway, he was very good friends with Robert Maxwell and a lot of these figures that pop up all over the place in the Epstein case. And then who absorbs his banks? HSBC. They basically take those over, and then HSBC gets exposed. I forget, I think that it wasn't the Panama Papers, but it was like one of those consortium of journalists that published these leaks, basically revealed a lot of prominent people that were part of these HSBC Swiss accounts that had been inherited from Safra. Epstein was one of them. Some associates of Epstein, like Flavio Briatore, are there, but also, you know, HSBC was laundering money for drug cartels. And who didn't go after them when they were in charge of the Bank of England? Mark Carney, who is now Prime Minister of Canada.
At this point, it's important to pause, not to focus on any single person, but to understand the pattern that keeps repeating. When figures like this appear in these stories, it's tempting to ask whether they're corrupt, compromised, or acting in bad faith. But that question misses the larger point. Individuals move through these systems the way current moves through a circuit. The structure determines the outcome long before any one person enters the frame. What matters is where power is allowed to concentrate, who is trusted to manage it, and how rarely those positions are disrupted. Titles change, governments rotate, but the underlying networks remain remarkably stable. That stability isn't accidental. It's the result of institutions designed to absorb risk, deflect blame, and maintain continuity, especially when scrutiny increases. So when new names surface, they don't signal a break in the system. They signal that the system is functioning exactly as intended.
And while he was head of the Bank of England, you know, there's pictures of him hanging out with Ghislaine Upsell, whose, you know, father, Robert Maxwell, was banked by Safra, among other things. Ghislaine thinks it was rogue Mossad agents and Sicilian mafia hitmen that killed him, came together. It's kind of funny, because that's kind of the thesis of my book. It's like the National Crime Syndicate, which in Upsell, whose, you know, father, Robert Maxwell, was banked by Safra, among other things. Ghislaine thinks it was rogue Mossad agents and Sicilian mafia hitmen that killed him, came together. It's kind of funny, because that's kind of the thesis of my book. It's like the National Crime Syndicate, which was the Italian mafia, their New York branch, and later their head got deported to Italy and sort of set up shop there. And then the Jewish mob that was headed by Mayor Lansky. And that basically this crime syndicate is the crime syndicate that teamed up with, you know, the intelligence agencies. Because this, you know, this Operation Underworld, all of that, the formation of this nexus predates the founding of the State of Israel. And so a lot of these actors, and I note this in my book too, were involved with the arming of the Haganah and these paramilitary groups that later create Israel in 1948, and then help them set up their intelligence agencies. So that's sort of how you get all this overlap between, you know, Mossad, Britain, CIA. It goes back to, you know, the beginning of Israel's national security complex, really. Because, I mean, think about how these people operate. These people could not have gotten away with all of this as it wasn't for mazes of holding companies, shell company, Byzantine offshore banks, and I mean all the other things that enable financial criminality in today's world. So obviously the connections are similarly going to be labyrinthian and Byzantine, but they are there. Like I pretty convincingly show in my book that there's a lot of baton passing going on between the generations. So like my book starts in the 40s, and I follow a lot of these institutions and people through the years. So, you know, I talk a lot about how Roy Cohn, who was Donald Trump's mentor, and how he passed a lot of things on to Trump, how a lot of people that were in Cohn's network got involved with Robert Maxwell. Robert Maxwell hired them when he came to the U.S., including figures like Robert Keith Gray, that were PR executives on their face, but also tied to the CIA, involved in sex blackmail, close friends with William Casey, who was CIA director under Reagan, among other things, and how they, you know, got involved with Maxwell's entry into New York City, which is how, you know, mainly how Ghislaine got so enmeshed in New York society, and also, you know, teamed up with Epstein in that same period of time. So, you know, all of this matters, and these connections are significant because this baton passing shows that this is a generational thing. And in the case of Maxwell, you know, Robert Maxwell's children, at least the ones that were close to him, because you have two that sort of splintered off from the larger Maxwell clan, but are very open that, you know, after he died, they were trying to figure out how to rebuild his empire. It's important to keep in mind that, like, when the petrodollar system has been, you know, the standard for keeping the dollar the global, you know, or reserve currency, the U.S. has gone to war and like killed millions of people to defend that. One of the likely motivations, obviously there's more than one, so that, you know, there are cases where, you know, the U.S. government, or rather U.S. empire, is willing to go to extreme lengths to defend the dollar. So the idea that they would just sit idly by and just like let dollarization happen without having some sort of plan in the works, especially knowing that they couldn't keep this going indefinitely and that the world was going to move at some point to a post-oil economy. You know, I think it's important to keep in mind that these people have been very serious and played very dirty and created insane instability just to keep the dollar the global reserve currency.
The hardest part of recognizing a system like this is accepting that it doesn't end with exposure. There's comfort in believing that if something is revealed loudly enough, it will be stopped. But systems built on continuity don't fear attention. They anticipate it. They survive by adapting, by shifting responsibility, and by ensuring that no single moment of outrage ever becomes sustained resistance. That's why change feels elusive. Not because nothing is wrong, but because the mechanisms that decide what matters are embedded far deeper than elections, scandals, or headlines. Power isn't just exercised, it's inherited, normalized, and quietly defended over time. Understanding this doesn't mean surrender, it means clarity. It means knowing that meaningful pressure doesn't come from chasing individual villains, but from questioning the structures that make them irrelevant. Because the most dangerous systems aren't the ones that hide in the shadows. They're the ones that convince us there's nothing left to question.
Okay, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Good night, good night, good night. I thought I was gonna go a little further, but my the likes are not where they should be at 2 hours and 8 minutes in, so yeah, no. Hi Christian, thank you for the floating hearts. Thank you. What is this? Oh, that's conservatives. Yeah, no. Get the lights up. I keep trying to get y'all to do right. Until y'all do right by me. What is the monologue?
Have been hacked by a foreign spy at an FBI office 3 years ago. Well, either that hacked material was used to turn Donald Trump into the mirror image of what he claimed.
Palace, then wired it like a CIA safe house. Every chandelier hiding
Y'all gotta get the lights up.
FBI drilled Epstein's safe after he was arrested, and they took out anywhere from hundreds to thousands of DVDs.
I can't keep
They are
doing this.
videos that exist.
I was trafficked to other billionaires, politicians, professors, even royalty.
2 decades later, he's dead.
A
The tapes are
professor.
missing, and the internet is stuck on all the wrong things.
I'm trying not to focus on whether or not Epstein killed himself. I think that's kind of a red herring.
Today, we ask a different question. Who built Jeffrey Epstein, and why was he worth protecting at all costs?
end of months of digging, meeting the farmer sisters, there was still this question mark. Who is this guy?
If y'all don't get the likes up, I'm going to tell you now, I'm just going to cut it off. I'm not going to even say anything. Get the likes up.
There's a guy, he's
no
getting
sense
together
to me.
with people and compromising
blackmailing everybody. Epstein shows up at Dalton in 74 with no degree and a gift for charm. That's all he had. Fast forward 2 years later, and the same kid is now a partner at Bear Stearns. He never passed a basic stockbroker test. All of a sudden trusted with $1 million portfolios. How do you explain that? It's like Uber hiring a guy who never took a driving test and then handing him the entire Knowledge fleet is of cars. strange currency. It's crazy.
You have no
Doesn't need a
experience
gun
out
when it
there.
already
A
owns your
teacher at
secrets.
Dalton.
He was able, because of his intelligence, to
On this
find
lonely
work at
sliver
the
of
Dalton
Caribbean
School
rock,
on
the
the Upper East
disgraced
Side
math
in Manhattan.
teacher built a pleasure palace, then wired it like a CIA safe house. Every chandelier hiding a lens.
The FBI drilled Epstein's safe after he was arrested, and they took out anywhere from hundreds to thousands of DVDs.
They are videos that exist.
I was trafficked to other billionaires, politicians, professors,
Oh, I
even
know what I
royalty.
wanted
2 decades
to,
later,
those
he's dead.
brothers.
The tapes are missing.
Hold
and the
on,
internet is
those
stuck on
Andrew
all the wrong
brothers.
things.
I
Is that their
tried
name?
not
They
to
got found
focus
guilty.
on whether or not Epstein killed himself. I think
And
that's
they
kind of a
are
red
linked
herring.
Today
to
we ask a
Trump.
different question. Who built Jeffrey Epstein? And why was he worth protecting at all costs?
At the end of months of digging,
Alexander
meeting the
brothers.
farmer sisters, there was still this question mark. Who is this guy?
Was a mysterious currency trading financier with crazy rules so that no one would ever invest with him.
There's a guy, he's getting together with people and
He's
compromising
blackmailing everybody. Epstein shows up at Dalton in 74 with no degree and a gift for charm. That's all he had. Fast forward 2 years later, and the same kid is now a partner at Bear Stearns. He never passed a basic stockbroker test. All of a sudden trusted with $1 million portfolios. How do you explain that? It's like Uber hiring a guy who never took a driving test and then handing him the entire fleet of cars. It's crazy.
You have no experience, and you're a teacher at Dalton.
He was able, because of his intelligence, to find work at the Dalton School on the Upper East Side in Manhattan.
Which is like this incredibly elite New York City private school, and then all of a sudden you're at Bear Stearns, and like within 2 years you've like made partner, and you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and nobody knows where you made your money from. This just doesn't happen. Where did the money come from?
You know, there's always a question, where did Epstein make all his money? Nobody really knows. All these relationships that he has.
I was asking him about how he made his money, because I knew that he had been a teacher at Dalton School. Somebody's talking to you and you have a meter. It is like, this doesn't make any sense. Jeffrey Epstein was a college dropout from Coney Island, from a working class family of Coney Island.
This is what I see at Epstein for what it's worth. You got basically a smart kid. Doesn't come from any particular background, but what he's good at is that he's good at numbers, and he makes friends with important people. And his career really seems to get going when he figures out new ways to dodge taxes. That's how he meets rich people, because he can come up with different strategies to avoid a tax burden.
Economist Eric Weinstein, he leaves one meeting convinced Epstein was a construct, not a prodigy.
My take on it was this is not an actual human. Someone has created a fake human being called Jeffrey Epstein.
Which leads to the real question. Who supplied the parts? Hold that thought for a minute. We'll come back to it once we see the bigger picture. And there is a bigger picture. I got to tell you, I love the wine. I really do. Francis Swan.
They can get anything they want. People from the United Nations.
Epstein never sold business plans. He sold status. You pack a dinner table with Nobel Prize brains, you sprinkle in a former president, and all of a sudden, every billionaire in the room, they want your phone number.
Going to the dinner parties where you would meet academics, politicians, people from the United Nations. I mean, it was a cosmopolitan group of U.S. eminence.
You know, I had dinners with him.
You cannot be a blackmail artist if people know that you're a blackmail artist.
He clearly understood social engineering. He understood that rich people
people, they can get anything they want, except the one thing they can't easily control is their reputation.
One such guest bought into it completely. Les Wexner, the retail titan behind Victoria's Secret and Bath & Body Works. Big guy. Epstein sold himself as a money whisperer, and Wexner, he signed power of attorney paperwork, handing Epstein's legal control of all of his assets. Figure that out. Wexner's checkbook opened doors. A $40 million Manhattan mansion. Gulfstream's on standby, and most importantly, it brought him credibility. When a Fortune 500 owner vouches for you, doors don't just open, they stay open. But why would Wexner, a guy famous for basically micromanaging panty colors, hand the castle keys to a newcomer like Epstein? Journalist Nick Bryan, somebody I interviewed, he dug up one answer. Blackmail.
Les Wexner was definitely being blackmailed by Jeffrey Epstein. And Les Wexner is a billionaire, and actually in 1987, he gave Epstein the keys to his kingdom, power of attorney over his billions. Wexner was heavily hooked up to the Genovese crime family. A guy named Frank Walsh, who had a trucking company, did a lot of the hauling for Wexner's various clothing lines, and he was definitely a Genovese guy. Jeffrey Epstein by himself couldn't blackmail someone like Les Wexner, who has connections to
what was
the
gross,
Genovese
Miss
crime
Tom?
family. Whoever the blackmail mark has to know, if you touch Jeffrey Epstein, there's going to be retribution. That's
why I guess that's why he got out.
Blackmail some of the most powerful people in not only in the country but in the world.
Private investigators allege that Epstein filmed an affair between Wexner and a model, and then he leveraged it for lifelong control over Wexner. Wexner denies it.
Blackmail some of the most powerful people in not only in the country but in the world.
Private investigators allege that Epstein filmed an affair between Wexner and a model, and then he leveraged it for lifelong control over Wexner. Wexner denies it, but the documents, they show he never ever took the power of attorney back from Epstein. The bottom line, Epstein wasn't pushing spreadsheets. He was trading access. Anyone who accepted the invitation, he gained prestige for a night, and he became leverage for a lifetime.
Rich people can get sex, but they can't necessarily get people to shut up afterwards.
Epstein is just kind of a greedy pervert, but through his greedy perversion, he's now collecting information that could be useful. Who could that be useful to? Who would like dirt?
I did see creepiness immediately.
The hair on the back of my neck stood on end.
Oh,
You're
wow.
meeting somebody who is unholy.
He knew how to read people and get what he needed from them.
He was a brilliant manipulator, not just of vulnerable girls and women. He was a brilliant manipulator of powerful men.
Now, with cash and credibility secured, Epstein scales up. The next move, it isn't Wall Street. It's Palm
Weinstein
Beach.
got popped in his
First of all, they
face.
trusted him with their money, which may or may not have been a good idea. And then they began to trust him with other confidence. And then he begins to supply them with things.
Money and reputation, they bought the half, but now the pipeline needed a product. A teen got $200 for the massage and another $200 for each new girl that she would bring in.
I knew that I was coming here to give a guy a massage and to make $200. It was never told to me that I would be molested by this man or anything like that.
By the end, dozens of kids were recruiting each other. Epstein never had to leave the house. Disgusting.
Definitely targeted, children like myself that were vulnerable to him and his money. We felt like we were being helped and saved by him, but ultimately he was just preying on us.
Little St. James, it looked like a resort brochure. You had turquoise water, a blue-striped temple, staff and press polos, but inside renovation crews, they described the mechanical rooms with electronic locks and hidden cameras that were aimed at every single bed.
Because he had a camera hidden in the room, and he has all kinds of videos, supposedly, of those events.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful people allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands.
A lot of very wealthy people don't own an island. Islands are really tough to maintain. Every rich person starts to wonder, can I afford an island? Or how many jets? If you look at Jeffrey Epstein's wealth, it was like gold beaten into gold foil so that it could cover a vast area and leave the impression of a solid gold life.
I never went to his island, fortunately, but a lot of people did.
Pilots recalled teenage passengers with no parents, no luggage, only fear on board.
He owns a
private island over a mile away from St. Thomas, the main island, and it's isolated. He purchases that. He owns the jet that flew in to the airport, and he owns the helicopter and the boats that transported him and the women and children over to the island.
U.S. Virgin Islands Attorney General Denise George, she put it bluntly, Epstein owned the whole supply chain, jet, helicopter, launch boat. Once you're on that island, there's no taxi to wave down. Multiple survivors like Virginia Giuffre and Sarah Ransom, they testified about what they saw.
I was abused by people that I can't even mention here. There's a lot of scars hidden behind those walls.
It's no secret that everything was recorded. I've also seen recordings in his office. There are videos that exist. The people that know they exist, I'm sure, are very frightened of them being released.
And remember Ghislaine Maxwell? How could we forget? She was the socialite turned enforcer. Court testimony shows that she handled all the logistics, recruitment, room assignments, school uniform costumes, passport confiscations, and in 2022 she gets 20 years for trafficking. But remember, not one client, not one, joins the defendant's bench.
Why has Maxwell been indicted on a conspiracy and no one else has been indicted? And Maxwell helped Epstein traffic scores of underage girls for 25 years. And she was only indicted on one count of child trafficking.
Little St. James, it was a factory. The product was leverage. Hours of video able to bend a prince, a physicist, or a Fortune 100 CEO to whoever owned the hard drives.
You were joining this secret club.
Right.
You got to be made.
Yes.
You're a made man in the mafia.
And you get to do crazy things.
No. It's only if we have compromise on you, you get ahead.
You see it in gangs where you have to prove your loyalty and you have to do something that now they have that control. It's so that when they raise you up the ranks, they have that blackmail on you. And that's what this whole story is about from the beginning.
Now we get to 2006. That should have been really the end for him. Palm Beach police, they deliver a 53-page probable cause dossier to the FBI. Sworn victim interviews, phone logs, even trash can DNA. Instead, what do the feds do? Federal prosecutors under Alex Acosta, they strike a non-prosecution agreement. Who ever heard of that? Epstein pleads to state charges, serves 13 months in a county wing with daily work release. Even a guy for bookmaking gets more time than that. The deal also grants immunity to any potential co-conspirators, whether they were known or unknown. Years later, Acosta tells Trump's vetting team it was told that Epstein belonged to intelligence. We were told to back off.
Alex Acosta, he was the Epstein prosecutor in the initial case where Epstein was, given a wrist slap and let off. And he was asked by the press, well, why didn't you go harder on Epstein? Why did you let him go? He said, I was told to back off Epstein because he belonged to intelligence. The fact is Epstein has been running through these CIA networks for 40 years, but there's also all the international networks. He belonged to intelligence meant just U.S. intelligence, although there absolutely was U.S. intelligence, but there could also be a role of Israeli intelligence. There could be a role of UK, British intelligence. There could be a role of Saudi intelligence because he was working with Adnan Khashoggi in Saudi Arabia, appeared to have deep ties to the royal family in the UK, and of course appears to have links to many aspects of Israeli intelligence.
In 2002, Vanity Fair writer Vicky Ward, she turned in a profile naming whistleblowers Maria and Annie Farmer. Editor Grayton Carter removed the allegations after a private meeting with Epstein. Why? What happened in that meeting? Security staff, they told NPR and New York Magazine that a severed cat's head and a bullet were later found at Carter's home. Where's the Godfather? Don Corleone, a severed cat's head. Not a horse head, but a cat's head. Do you believe this? Yet Carter still denies intimidation. Not intimidated by a severed cat's head. Internal compliance memos, they show that Deutsche Bank classified Epstein as a, quote, high risk in 2015 after spotting millions routed through offshore entities. Regulars say the bank kept the account open until mid-2018, closing it only after the Miami Herald expose. When local police, a national newspaper, and a global bank all hit the same tripwire, and each time somebody cuts the fuse, that isn't luck. Something's going on. It's infrastructure. Somebody kept moving the safety net to wherever Jeffrey Epstein fell.
When that happens over and over again, you have to raise the question, is somebody running interference for this person?
The question isn't about the sex with the underage women. The question is really about why was is he so protected?
A lot of these girls, and I've talked to a number of them, a lot of them are afraid of, we're not just talking Jeffrey Epstein, we're talking some of the most powerful people in the world. Jeffrey Epstein trafficked underage girls for 25 years.
You don't get this kind of protection out of nowhere. Something is going on.
He was either running his own blackmail business or someone was using him as a front for that. I mean, I think we're kidding ourselves when we try to pretend that's not what was going on.
I know the power that the Department of Justice and the FBI has. When they wanted to eliminate organized crime in this country, they came after us with a vengeance. With a vengeance, believe me. They're very capable. They have the resources. They have the money. They have the strength behind them. And they turn a blind eye to human trafficking.
If you were going to use an intelligence asset to do something evil, to do something where you can get dirt on people or compromise people or accomplish an objective, you would get someone who's already fucked up.
Oh, 100%.
And then you get that fucked up person and you help them, run this cult, or you help them get girls.
But you intentionally keep them separate. You're not hiring them. They don't work for you.
Right.
They're a private entity.
If he
it's
wasn't,
like layers of obfuscation.
Like if he wasn't personally a pervert, it wouldn't work.
Oh, not a chance. No.
Like think about, like the guy gets arrested for having sex with underage girls or getting them to do happy endings or whatever, wherever he did. So he gets arrested. The real weird thing is that he just gets out and gets like house arrest. And he gets like a little slap on the wrist, and then he's back in action with all these rich people again. Like really rich, influential people, like Bill Gates is addicted.
If you're an entity that wanted full control, you wanted to control the votes of a
wherever he did. So he gets arrested. The real weird thing is that he just gets out and gets like house arrest. And he gets like a little slap on the wrist, and then he's back in action with all these rich people again. Like really rich, influential people, like Bill Gates is hanging out with them after he's already been arrested and convicted.
If you're an entity that wanted full control, you wanted to control the votes of a senator, of a congressman, of a judge, or you wanted to control the money of a billionaire, or you wanted to control some royalty. If you wanted that level of control, you get them on film with a 12-year-old, you control them forever.
August 10, 2019, 6:30 a.m. Manhattan's Metropolitan Correction Center, a place I'm very familiar with, by the way, spent 7 months there. Jeffrey Epstein is found unresponsive in his cell. He'd been on suicide watch for 6 days after an earlier incident that he had. Then against Bureau of Prisons policy, he was transferred to a lower security special housing unit and left with a bunk bed sheet. Cameras, 2 corridor cameras outside the cell, all of a sudden malfunctioned at the same time. The prosecutors later told the court the footage was unusable. Why? Since when? Where were the guards? Well, both night officers admitted that they were shopping online and dozing off.
Both security cameras glitch out. Both security guards fall asleep. The visitor log page is ripped out of the notebook.
They falsified 75 rounds in the logbook, a felony count they pled guilty to in 2021. The autopsy, New York City's chief medical examiner ruled it was a suicide by hanging. However, Dr. Michael Baden, a former New York State pathologist that I have a lot of respect for, by the way, he was present throughout the family's autopsy. He testified the hyoid bone and the thyroid cartilage, they showed multiple fractures that are more consistent with homicidal strangulation than a self-inflicted hanging. Believe me, he did not commit suicide. I was in that cell. It was all, you'd have to be a midget. There's no place to hang yourself on.
Nope.
Trust me when I tell you this. I'm not saying this for any other reason other than it's the truth. I experienced it. I was there. The cameras go dead. The guards are dozing off. It's nonsense. You couldn't even go to the sit on the toilet there without them walking back and forth. Trust me on that. Public reaction, same as mine. Hashtag Epstein didn't kill himself dominated social media for months. It eclipsed every other thread in the story.
Cameras didn't work, and then the tapes were accidentally deleted from the first time he attempted suicide.
I don't think there's any way in hell he killed himself.
It was definitely a murder.
We've been fuming on this conspiracy for so long.
We've got footage, and you're getting it. Then you can make up your own mind.
Killed himself, not killed himself. Was there a guard there? What was going on? Did he have a roommate? To me, that's
it's all just basically a mirage for the bigger problem that's going on.
I've tried not to focus on whether or not Epstein killed himself. I think that's kind of a red herring. What we need to focus on is justice for these victims.
And here's the media trick. Argue suicide versus murder long enough and nobody starts to ask who lost access to the tapes.
Tens of thousands of hours of Epstein and his people having sex with underage children. Where are I want arrests. I want those people. Kill himself, that's okay. We're not stupid. We know what happened. If they say kill himself, whatever. Maybe they gave him an ultimatum, Adam. Maybe they're like, hey, listen, we're going to shut the cameras off. You at least better do it or else it's going to be hell or high water for you. So maybe, I don't know. I don't care at this point. I want the customers.
Where are the tapes? Why is everyone talking about the flight logs and the files? Where are the tapes? This guy was clearly taping people to blackmail them.
The FBI agents, they removed dozens of CDs and hard drives from Epstein's Manhattan townhouse 3 weeks earlier, each labeled with a name and a date.
The FBI drilled Epstein's safe after he was arrested, and they took out anywhere from hundreds to thousands of DVDs.
And we know they did that, and yet no one is asking for the tapes.
Defense lawyers in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, they confirmed none of that video entered into evidence. Why not? Why not? My friends, that's textbook misdirection. You focus the country on a bedsheet knot so no one else asks who controls the compromise. Until the perpetrators on those drives are brought to justice, suicide versus murder is a side quest. The main plot is who just lost and who now controls the leverage of a lifetime.
I'm asking
These glasses
for
automatically
the tapes.
turn into sunglasses in
You're
bright daylight.
asking for what tapes?
All glasses have this tiny flaw.
I'm asking for the likes to go up.
So, we circle back to Eric Weinstein's
for the Epstein
hunch
files.
that Epstein felt like a construct, but who was the engineer? Okay, Epstein, the operator, is mapped. Now, the bigger mystery.
Thank you. You're so very welcome.
Take half of all the time you spend thinking about Jeffrey Epstein, talking about Jeffrey Epstein, everybody, and spend half of that time saying, what do we think about whoever was behind Jeffrey Epstein?
There are two plausible theories that I believe
think they need to be
both
exposed.
sketched by career intelligence officers who know what they're talking about. Theory number one, it was a state-run access operation. Seasoned intel people point out the whole operation feels like classic access work. You can't recruit a president or a prince, so you recruit the guy who parties with them, Epstein. Mossad shows up in various rumors and speculations because Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, he died while under investigation as a longtime Israeli asset. And contractors who installed Epstein's townhouse cameras, they told reporters they were, quote, from an Israeli security agency. But CIA and MI6 veterans, they also say the tradecraft looks familiar to every major service. One ex-agency analyst put it to me like this. If a foreign shop is collecting blackmail on U.S. leaders, Langley's first instinct isn't outrage, it's do we already have a copy? In other words, more than one flag could have been on the play.
If someone wasn't exploiting what he had available to them, somewhere there were any number of people who weren't doing their job. And I've seen this and that administration come and go, and this particular Senate committee come and go. All these people are temporary. The agency is eternal. They have the same kind of incentive that everything else does, which is to survive and grow. And any kind of information, any sort of fuel that will allow them to do that is necessary.
My suspicion is that, like, there was probably American intelligence agencies that were aware a plot was being planned. Did they purposely let it happen so that this could, or were they pushed to let it happen? Or did they not take it seriously and then it happened, and then everyone at that agency that's in a position of power is going, oh, this is my fault. I let this. Okay, we got to find a way to make it seem like this is not on. My suspicion is that is most conspiracy stuff, where it's like there's some incompetence and then someone trying to cover up incompetence, and that leads to this insane conspiracy because this person's trying to protect a lie.
Theory number two, free agent blackmail merchant. Picture Epstein as a data broker in human vice. Royal video goes to one buyer, Silicon Valley footage goes to another. Political leverage, it's sold by the terabyte. One former NSA agent told Vanity Fair Epstein didn't care who the customer was, as long as they wrote the check. Governments, hedge funds, opposition researchers, you name it. He didn't need a single puppeteer when the market itself kept him in business. That's the bottom line. And here's what we can actually see in the paper trail. No theories, just receipts. First, the flight logs. 30 plus same-day international trips where Epstein's jet, it touched down in one country at breakfast and another by dinner. Russia in the morning, Israel that night. Wheels up again before sunrise. Anyone who's ever waited in a customs line, you know you don't move that fast unless somebody's waving you through. I know that for a fact. I'm always in customs line. Over in New Mexico, county permits list a helipad engineered to Pentagon specs. Why is that? That's massive overkill for a private chopper, but it's perfect if you want aircraft coming and going without ever hitting a public runway. Trial exhibits add another clue. Guest list. At least 6 researchers who held live Pentagon or DARPA grants show up as visitors to Little St. James. Epstein, he wasn't just quoting playboys. He was collecting scientists working on government projects. Even the banks noticed the pattern. Compliance teams at JP Morgan and later Deutsche Bank, they flagged his offshore wires for review years before he was arrested. The alerts went upstairs and the account stayed open anyway. Put it together in a picture forms. It doesn't prove Mossad or CIA or some Bond villain startup, but it does tell us Epstein moved through airports, laboratories, and bank lobbies like a man who never expected to hear the word no. Somebody kept the lane clear.
Rather than trying to figure out what's true and what's false, just consider that there are a range of possibilities. That's what exists. And then try to calculate which of those range of possibilities seems more likely.
Can someone give us a definitive answer so that we can stop asking the question?
The Epstein case is very, very, very recent, and the people involved are all alive and well, and many of them in very powerful positions in the U.S. government and internationally.
There's a major yearning right now to get to the end of the movie where we find out everything that happened, you know? And I think it's great that people have that desire, and I hope more and more does come out. I think the truth is that with any intelligence operations, we're probably never going to know all of the details of exactly what happened.
Look, Epstein's gone, but the hard drives, the feds pulled from the townhouse, they're not gone. Whoever sits on that archive can still tug a senator's vote. It can nudge a tech billionaire's merger, maybe whisper in a judge's ear, who knows? Until those tapes surface, every powerful name on the Epstein list, and there is a list, is just one phone call away from cooperating. So no, we don't finish with a tidy answer. We finish with a to-do list. Follow the post-mortem money, his estate, the trust, the odd wire transfers that kept surfacing, each one is a breadcrumb. Unseal the drives. Congress actually has the power to demand them. Why are they not demanding them? Public pressure, that's the fuel to make them try. We got to keep the pressure on. And watch the pattern. When you spot another overnight success, mysterious wealth, instant VIP access, legal problems that just melt away, ring the alarm, my friends, before they start wiring chandeliers with cameras, because the next Epstein, he's already auditioning, unless we find out who held the door open the first time.
This might be the only delivery service that actually feels chef-made, because it is. This is Cook Unity, and if you're someone that enjoys delicious food without having to worry about grocery shopping, cooking, and cleaning, then you're gonna love this service, because all you have to do is heat up the meals in the oven or microwave, and the best part is new users can get meals for only $6.30 at the link in my bio. They partnered with some of the best chefs in the world, like Chef Marcus Samuelson, to design meals that have the same taste, consistency, and quality you'd expect at their restaurants. This week I ordered some of Chef Marcus' most popular dishes, like his smoky brown sugar chicken, masala spiced shrimp, green pesto bucatini, and M's famous chicken and waffles. Chef Marcus is an 8 times James Beard Award winner that owns the Red Rooster in Harlem, and these are the type of quality partnerships you can expect from Cook Unity. If you want to feel like you have your own personal chef, head to the link in my bio to get 50% off your first order.
Yeah, I just don't understand what the problem is on the like button. I just don't get it. I'm finna go out on Lawrence, Larry. Dang, I wanna hear that, but
they will pretend they never lied. And in Donald Trump's
they will pretend they never lied.
Forces eventually collapsed under the weight of the truth, the video recorded truth. And when their lies collapse, they will pretend they never lied. And in Donald Trump's deeply perverse case, as we have known from the start about him, he will simply never stop lying. A reporter trying to catch Donald Trump in a lie to his face will simply be handed another lie by Donald Trump, as we saw him do today about the war he decided to start, which in its first 12 days has cost more than $11.3 billion. A reporter trying to catch Donald Trump in a contradiction to his face will simply get a Trump. It is a little excursion, and you said it is a war. Said to Donald Trump, you just said, contradiction to his face will simply get a Trump riddle in reply. Like this. Today, a White House reporter said to Donald Trump, you just said it is a little excursion, and you said it is a war. So which one is it? To which Donald Trump said, well, it's both. It's both. Ask a clown a question and you will get a clown's answer. No other president has ever been asked that question, because no other president has ever referred to starting a war as a little excursion, which Donald Trump has now done repeatedly and did again today, thereby insulting the sacrifice of the 7 soldiers killed in his war and the 140 wounded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which new reports now reveal include injuries much more serious than Donald Trump's Defense Department ever wanted to admit, including 1 possible amputation, other traumatic brain injuries,
amputation,
and 25 now hospitalized with serious injuries.
See how they lie?
Germany, according to CBS.
See how they lie?
Reporters had to dig out what we now know about those injuries from the department run by the only defense secretary in history who had to promise to stop drinking in order to win his Senate confirmation from a Republican-controlled Senate. That is the same defense secretary who said in the first days of Donald Trump's war that news reporting about the American deaths in Donald Trump's war was intended to, quote, make the president look bad. Those were his words. Make the president look bad. That's what he was worried about. And if you think it is impossible to be more vain than Donald Trump, meet Pete Hegseth, who ordered news photographers banned from the Pentagon because of what he considered unflattering photographs of him during his recent rare appearance in the press briefing room, talking about Donald Trump's war. Imagine how deeply perverse you have to be to ban news photographers from the Pentagon because of this photograph. Washington Post reports the Defense Department has barred press photographers from briefings on the ongoing U.S.-Israeli military conflict with Iran after they published photos of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth that his staff deemed unflattering, according to 2 people familiar with the decision who spoke on the condition of anonymity out of fear of retaliation. Imagine living in fear inside the Pentagon because the only man in the building who promised not to drink in order to get his job doesn't like the way he is photographed. There has never been a smaller mind employed in the Pentagon than Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense, who pretends he's a Secretary of War and now lives in fear of photographers. Donald Trump is surrounded by small minds in a way no president before him has ever been. That is Donald Trump's design. Donald Trump's first-term cabinet could not possibly ever reach the stupidity levels that Donald Trump's current cabinet and staff reach on a daily basis. Stupid is an accurate but woefully inadequate word to describe the Trump team's approach to Donald Trump's war. New reporting by the New York Times indicates there is even more proof that from the start, they have had no idea what they're doing and no ability to anticipate the most obvious results of launching such a war, including blocking 20% of the world's oil supply from moving through the Strait of Hormuz, thereby sending the world's oil price skyrocketing along with the price of gasoline in the United States. The New York Times reports Donald Trump and his sycophantic incompetence couldn't see that one coming. The Times reports on February 18th, as President Trump weighed whether to launch military attacks on Iran, Chris Wright, the energy secretary, told an interviewer he was not concerned that the looming war might disrupt oil supplies in the Middle East and wreak havoc in energy markets. Some of Mr. Trump's other advisors shared similar views in private, dismissing warnings that the second time around, Iran might wage economic warfare by closing shipping lanes carrying roughly 20% of the world's oil supply. The episode is emblematic of how much Mr. Trump and his advisors misjudged how Iran would respond to a conflict that the government in Tehran sees as an existential threat. After Donald Trump said that Iran would have to choose a leader acceptable to him, Iran chose a new leader who is the son of the previous leader and possibly even more hardline than his Ayatollah father. Donald Trump lied about that today, saying, quote, "They have a new leader every 3 weeks, every 3 days." That's one of those lies where Donald Trump becomes instantly dissatisfied with the lie that he has told and then exaggerates it into a worse lie. He hears himself say 3 weeks and decides to change it to 3 days. The last Iranian leader lasted 37 years. His son, who is now 56 years old, is on his way to a 30-year run if he dies at age 86 like his father did. But Iran's first Ayatollah died at age 89. So the number 3 is relevant here, but it's not 3 weeks or 3 years. We have now had exactly and only 3 Ayatollahs running Iran over 47 years. A new report by Reuters says Donald Trump's own intelligence agencies has assessed there has been no real effective change in the leadership of Iran. The most famous object ever to take its place on the Oval Office desk was made in a federal prison in Oklahoma for the President of the United States, Harry Truman. A U.S. Marshal had it made and delivered to the President. It was a walnut base, 13 inches wide, with a painted glass sign that said, "The buck stops here." Harry Truman lived those words in the presidency and never tried to evade responsibility for his decisions or the decisions of his subordinates. In an address to the National War College in 1952, President Truman said, "When the decision is up before you, and on my desk I have a motto which says the buck stops here, the decision has to be made. That decision may be right, it may be wrong. If it is wrong, and it has been shown that it is wrong, I have no desire to cover it up. I admit it and try to make another decision that will meet the situation." And that is what any president of the United States has to do. Donald Trump doesn't see it that way. And he proved that again today in the most vile possible way with another ugly Trump lie. In his final address to the nation from the Oval Office, Harry Truman said, "The president, whoever he is, has to decide. He can't pass the buck to anybody. No one else can do the deciding for him. That's his job." And in that final address to the nation, President Truman said this:
"There is no job like it on the face of the earth. In the power which is concentrated here at this desk, and in the responsibility and difficulty of the decisions. I want all of you to realize how big a job, how hard a job it is, not for my sake, because I'm stepping out of it, but for the sake of my successor. He needs the understanding help of every citizen."
Harry Truman would be sickened by what his successor did today, when Donald Trump lied about what we now know was an American Tomahawk missile targeted at a girls' school in Iran. A U.S. official familiar with the matter told MS Now that a preliminary investigation by the Pentagon has found that U.S. forces bombed a school in Iran due to dated targeting information that identified the building as part of an adjacent military complex. So that's the government's own preliminary investigation confirming what the New York Times has been reporting for days, which the Trump team was claiming was some kind of harassment of the White House. That is what Donald Trump's press secretary called New York Times accurate reporting about the American missile attack on that girls' school. Harassment, that was her word for it. Today, the New York Times reports a visual investigation by the Times showed the building housing the school had been fenced off from the military base between 2013 and 2016. 3 public entrances were open to the school. Ground was cleared, and play areas, including a sports field, were painted on asphalt, and walls were painted blue and pink. So the outdated targeting information that Donald Trump's team of incompetence was using that attacked that school was at least 10 years old. And now 175 people, most of them children, are dead. First, Donald Trump lied, as he always does. He first attempted to blame Iran, saying Iran could somehow obtain and operate an American Tomahawk missile, which is, of course, a complete screaming lie that Donald Trump only tried once. And the next day, Donald Trump said there's an investigation going on, so he wasn't going to talk about it. And then today he reached a new low in Trump lying when he tried to claim he didn't know about the attack. He didn't know about the dead children. He actually said the words, "I don't know about it." And so during Donald Trump's lifetime, we have watched the presidency go from the buck stops here to "I don't know about it." Please keep Harry Truman in mind and imagine him watching Donald Trump respond today to the question, as Commander-in-Chief, do you take responsibility for that? You want to file free? Hit it.
A new report says that the military investigation has found that the United States struck the school in Iran. As Commander-in-Chief, do you take responsibility for that?
That is what?
As Commander-in-Chief, do you...
For what?
For the strike on the school in Iran.
For what?
A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
I don't know about it. And then he wandered off in search of another question. And of course, the next White House reporter changed the subject for him, as he knew that would happen. And he is lying. Of course he's lying. This time he's lying about the deaths of girls in Iran, brave enough to try to get an education, the girls who could be the future for the kind of Iranian society we would all like to see. Some of those girls might have helped lead Iran into that future. And Donald Trump, once again, disgraces the American presidency, this time by saying, "I don't know about it," when he is asked about the death of those girls killed by an American Tomahawk missile. Donald Trump doesn't know
He is
about
out
a lot
of order.
things. Donald Trump doesn't know most things that he needs to know and should know, but Donald Trump knows. Those girls were killed by one of his Tomahawk missiles. And he knows those girls will be alive today if he did not decide to start his war in Iran. The war that he called today a little excursion. In a little excursion, girls don't get killed in their classrooms. In a little excursion, soldiers don't face amputation. In a little excursion, soldiers don't have brain damage. In a little excursion, soldiers are not killed. Donald Trump's war is what
Epstein
killed those girls. Leading off our discussion tonight, is Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington. He's the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman Smith, I want to go straight to, especially as a West Coast representative, I'm sure you got calls from the West Coast today when Donald Trump's FBI tried to make it known that the West Coast needs to worry about a missile attack launched from Iran. What can you tell your constituents and America about that tonight?
Well, I mean, the fundamental question, one of the fundamental questions, is are Americans safer because of Donald Trump's war? And the answer to that question is no, for a whole bunch of different reasons, but this report from the FBI underscores it. As you pointed out in your monologue, Iran views this as an existential threat because it is. Donald Trump has said he wants to take out the regime, and so they are lashing out, certainly across the Middle East, but elsewhere. And they have various terrorist cells and proxies, and we have to be, ready for that, which of course Trump and his administration is not. I don't have specific reporting on the details of this. I'm getting a classified call tomorrow, but Americans everywhere have to be ready for the fact that Donald Trump has plunged us into a war that is expanding on a daily basis.
There's been a lot of reporting today saying that this FBI theory of a drone attack on the West Coast is technologically impossible for Iran. What is your understanding of that?
Yeah, I don't know, to be perfectly honest with that. I will say that I don't have an enormous amount of confidence in Donald Trump's FBI, as has also been widely reported. They've recently fired some of their primary Iranian experts because they dared to be part of the investigation into Donald Trump. So the incompetence problem that you pointed out is deep in the administration. That's part of the problem in being prepared for this. I need to get more details on what's possible, what Iran might have. But the bottom line is we're at risk, and I really want to emphasize one other point. The biggest thing that all of us policymakers and everyone in the country needs to be focused on is stopping this war. It was a terrible idea. It has gone horribly, but we need to get it stopped as soon as possible because it's only going to get worse day by day in terms of the negative impacts. And we're not going to be able to achieve the various different goals that President Trump and others advocating this war have been trying to achieve. It needs to stop now.
What is it like really trying to find out how much a war like this actually costs?
Yeah, it's normally difficult, but it's particularly impossible because the Trump administration is not transparent. They do not share the information with Congress that they're supposed to share. We've been trying to get the cost of the boat strikes going on in Latin America and the operation in Venezuela, and that started in September, and they still haven't provided any information on that. But I think the estimates that it's costing between $1 and $2 billion a day are pretty accurate. Now, keep in mind, that's just the cost to the U.S. Treasury. The cost to the economy, our economy, the global economy, is even far greater than that.
And as we go forward, what are the kinds of ways that Congress might be able to get control of these costs?
Yeah, well, I mean, we got to press them as hard as we can, press for the information, and we will do that. It would help enormously if I was chairman of the committee instead of ranking member. That gives us subpoena power, a lot more ability, and I would think that if we win, hopefully, we get back in the majority, we're going to have to do that. Because even information that the Republican majority is asking for on different issues isn't being provided. We are going to have to press them, and I think we're going to have to use legal process to get after that information.
What is happening to American weapon stock?
They're going down rather significantly. I mean, we already had a problem in terms of munitions. We haven't updated the manufacturing of them so that they're manufactured more quickly. Then we had the conflict in Ukraine, Israel's various wars we've helped out. We were already in a bad spot. We also had the war against Yemen, which a lot of people have forgotten, but we spent 3.5 months bombing the hell out of Yemen last year as well. So yeah, we're getting pretty low. They have not yet given us the numbers. Again, another aspect of the complete lack of transparency. Two big things they haven't given us. They haven't given us the numbers on what weapons we have left. Also, even as every day they claim that they are meeting their objectives, they have not given us what exactly those objectives are and what exactly they've destroyed to date. So we're going to keep pressing, but the lack of transparency now is a huge problem.
Congressman Adam Smith, thank you very much for starting off our coverage tonight.
Thank you, Lawrence.
And coming up, as we reported last night, there was no good news for Donald Trump in Tuesday's special election in Georgia in Marjorie Taylor Greene's very Republican congressional district, with the Democrat coming out on top in that primary election. Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff joins us next. Last night, in Marjorie Taylor Greene's former congressional district in Georgia, a Democrat won. That's right, the top vote getter in last night's election in that very conservative, Trump-supporting district in Georgia was Democrat retired Brigadier General Sean Harris. General Harris will face Trump-endorsed Republican Clay Fuller in a special runoff election on April 7th to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress. In other good news for Democrats in Georgia, our next guest, Senator Jon Ossoff, is leading in a new poll that shows Senator Ossoff at least 9 points ahead of all the potential Republican candidates included in that poll. Donald Trump went to Kentucky today to try to convince people that he has delivered on his promise of lower prices, even though gas prices are now skyrocketing and inflation has increased because of Donald Trump's unconstitutional and illegal tariffs. The Trump staff actually put a sign on the stage with the words "lower prices" in front of an audience full of people who paid higher prices for gas to get to that event today. MS Now's Will McDuffie spoke to voters in Pennsylvania about the price of gas.
Around about 45, 50 cents more today than last week, almost 5 days ago.
That's a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's a lot. If it keeps going, it's not going to be good.
As for right now, I'm less than a quarter of a tank, so it's between getting gas or going to the grocery store to get food for my kids.
I actually stopped driving because gas prices have gone so high. I can't even afford to really go to work, so I've resulted in taking the bus now.
Joining us now is Senator Jon Ossoff, Democrat of Georgia. He's a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Senate Appropriations Committee, and the Rules Committee, running for re-election this year. Senator Ossoff, what do you make of those results last night in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district with the Democrat coming out on top?
Lawrence, thanks for having me. And first of all, I want to tip my cap to General Harris and his team for the campaign they're running. And it just speaks to the intensity of mobilization and opposition and outrage that's directed at this administration, and not just among Democrats, among independents, and increasingly in Georgia among Republicans, who privately and more publicly are speaking out against this administration, its failure, its corruption, the chaos that it's sowing across the country and around the world. And look, Georgia is the front line. Georgia is the most crucial battleground state in the country. And, you know, this result last night shows the momentum that we've built, but some of the recent polling, you put some up on the screen, I gotta correct that. One of my opponents, a congressman from coastal Georgia, he's just 3 points behind me. This will be, despite the incredible momentum we're building, the tightest, hardest fought U.S. Senate race in the country this year. And I'm asking folks to take action right now and help me at electjon.com, electjon.com.
The Marjorie Taylor Greene started this defection from Donald Trump in her district. I mean, she was the first Trump voter in her district to defect from him. But obviously in those results last night, Donald Trump has a problem in that district now.
Donald Trump has a problem with every side of his coalition. You know, you got folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are longtime MAGA devotees, furious at all the promises that the president made to MAGA, but his administration has broken. And then you got folks just across the state. These are middle-of-the-road folks who tend to vote Republican, sometimes local Republican elected officials who just can't stand the incompetence, the abuses of power, the grotesque corruption. They see this guy and his family raking in billions of dollars from all over the world, while the cost of living crisis in America gets worse and worse. And it's infuriating people, and not just Democrats.
So in the polling, we're seeing that Donald Trump's new war has the lowest support in history of any war in its beginning days. And polling in all war, the support for it declines over time. So it is very likely going down from here. And along with that, there's a massive number, over 2/3 of voters, who say they expect gas prices to continue to go up because of Donald Trump's war. Along with that, there's a massive number, over 2/3 of voters, who say they expect gas prices to continue to go up because of Donald Trump's war.
Look, the thing to remember as well, first of all, energy prices cascade through everything in the economy. Here's another angle. You know, Georgia's #1 industry is agriculture. I was on the phone this morning with a cotton grower in Georgia. About 1/3 of the international trade in fertilizer goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And we're coming up on the planting season. So farmers in Georgia and across the country are seeing fertilizer prices now going through the roof, diesel prices now going through the roof. Farmers are already getting hammered in the trade war. The rest of the world is retaliating against American farmers for all of Donald Trump's tariffs. And so this spells potentially very tough times in the weeks and months ahead for American agriculture, which is also going to directly impact food prices.
So Donald Trump actually had this sign on the stage today saying lower prices. I mean, does he think that people don't see the signs on their gas pumps of what those prices are?
I think the president appears increasingly to have lost touch with reality. And that is deeply concerning when you have a White House in which he is surrounded by yes men and yes women who cater to his every need, a cabinet much more concerned with winning his favor than giving him good advice or executing their jobs competently.
Okay, y'all have a good night. I will see y'all tomorrow. Talk to y'all tomorrow.
Good night. It speaks to the necessity of winning these midterm elections in a landscape